Yeah, okay, I'm done. I'm not done. I'm starting. I'm ready. I'm done being ready. Now I'm starting. A lot of times when as I'm streaming, I'll say things like, "All right, well, I'm done with that." Like, "All right, let's wrap it up" or something, and I'll say something like that that sort of implies that I'm ending stream, and I'm not. I'm like it'll be. I'm trying to think of a phrase. Like, there's certain things that I'll accidentally say that make it sound like I'm ending. Um, like, oh, let's put the all right, putting the final touches on this painting or something. Right? It's like, nope, I thought I'm actually gonna shift gears and do something else, but it makes it sound like I'm ending. Anyway, hope everyone's doing well. I am going to. I want to paint like a bridge. This painting is the only one from the last. So normally, not normal, but in the past, a couple days, few streams ago, I sort of hinted at that Mondays were going to be the day where I add the map locations, kind of like this one. This may be a map location, where I add these onto the map. The map being the world map thingy that we've been working on. But I only have one location today, and I feel like I want to add more than one at a time because it gives me more to do and it goes a little quicker. So this is the map, but I want to do like a bridge, either a bridge or a land bridge, some sort of like, I don't know, roads or something. I want to draw some sort of structural road thing. So, but anyway, so I'm not going to be working on this today specifically, but hopefully I will make a location that will make its way onto that map. Anyway, this is what we did last stream. I'll be honest, I thought it had more color in it than it does. Like, I knew it was gonna be kind of muted, but it feels even more muted than I thought it was gonna be, so that's kind of weird. But yeah, it's kind of weird to, like, when you're tunnel visioned, you can see all the nuance, but then when you zoom out, it's like, oh, it's kind of lost a little bit. So I wish I would have pushed the saturation in various spots just a smidge, you know, just a hair more saturation. But yeah, overall, I like it. I like what I did last stream. It doesn't look frosty, which is kind of the reference that I had, which is why the colors are the way they are. So I don't think I really succeeded on that part, but I like it. I'm pretty happy with it. There's lots of cool stuff about it. Overall, I give it a, not sure why I'm rating my art, a 4 out of 5 for like happy with the stream of last stream in terms of like happy with the art I made. Not like loving it, but it's, you know, good enough. Maybe a 3 out of 5, 3.5. I don't know. In my head, I don't know if you guys do this, but in my head, I always have like, I always try to sort of think back of like, do I like that piece? And if not, like why not? Right? Kind of like a sort of a mental critique, just like, I don't know, like good, bad, yay, nay kind of thing. And then from there, I'll decide if like, yeah, it's cool. I like that direction. Maybe I'll try more stuff like that. So yeah, I do that a lot. So to me, that's like a 3.5. I like the stylistic stuff. I like the shapy stuff I was doing. I like that I did a character, yay me. But you know, as far what I don't like about it is more of like me wishing I would have done more rather than just a random generic environment. I wish I would have done like a setting that meant something, I guess, like for me or like a location with some design that isn't just like here's some plants. But there's nothing wrong with that. Like there's nothing wrong with this. It's just I feel like I'm getting to the point where this stuff doesn't excite me as much as it probably once did because it's less about the execution of it and more about like, I don't know, how I develop an idea or whatever. So I don't know. I feel like I change over time with my views. Okay, thanks for being here. Thanks for the follow. Okay, I'm gonna starting stream. What do I paint? I don't know, but I'm gonna paint not that. I guess I'll open the world map. This thing. So I'm gonna paint some sort of road or bridge or something that goes across here. Maybe not specifically here. It could be anywhere with water. I could even add water, and then it could be like, this will be the bridge. It doesn't really matter what, because this is still a work in progress. But as I paint locations, I'll add them to the map. So I have a few locations already that I've painted. I guess I can open them and share before I get started, because I still don't know what I'm going to paint today. So like this one, I just a random fantasy painting, and then we added it to the world map, which is this thing, the desert, and then there's like a little town here, which isn't very well rendered, but so be it. A little forest, like a glowy blue forest in the night areas, that kind of thing. So today is going to be more of that, hopefully. Hopefully. I say hopefully because last week, 2 of the 3 streams... Thanks. Thank you for the hydrate. 2 of the 3 streams last week did not end up being paintings that I liked at all, so I don't want to add them to the world map. This one is... Oh, not that one. This one can go away now. This one... Oh, I already closed it. Okay. The beach one. The beach painting is the only painting that's like a maybe making its way to the world map. And even that is like only a maybe. Like I'm not sure. So yeah, maybe nothing from last week, which is okay. I don't need every painting that I do every stream to be like, oh, this is gonna make it in. Especially if you think of them as like just concepts. Some concepts need iterations and aren't good, and yeah, some days we'll end with nothing that I like. That's okay. But I do think I want to do like some sort of bridgey area, or I'm thinking like a warm area, so like stone, because that's something I haven't painted a lot of, like stone with like a yellow, like a yellowy stone, kind of bright. What just happened? What is going on? Yeah, like a yellowy, brightish stone. Maybe, I don't know about the sky color, but I'll just put something kind of bluish so I have some shadow color that I can put in. So maybe some like bright... I'm just trying to establish some sort of... I'm not actually trying to do the painting right now. I'm trying to just sort of establish like, if this were a stone wall, what colors would I use for the sunlight? Like maybe there would be direct sunlight here. Then there would be like some sort of cooler stone. Maybe a different colored stone. So like, I don't know, I'm trying to think. I'm just trying to get, I guess if we did like a white stone, it could be very blue in the shadow. And then like very, very white. I'm just trying to think of like color palette kind of, or like material, I guess. Because I'm thinking I'm going to have some sort of path or bridge or thing. Maybe there's people walking across it. I don't know how the scale exactly. Honestly, I haven't thought much about it. But I hope everyone's doing well. And also, if anybody has any art they'd like to share, I'd love to see. Not actually, but yeah. Okay. Let's do this. Let's do something. Same colors. Let's just jump straight in. I'm gonna do some 1-point perspective. But maybe not right in the middle. Let's do... I kind of feel like something like this. Where, like, we're kind of... That way we have, like, if we... Let's say we're walking down, like, a bridge, and it has, like, 2 walls or 2 railings, right? I want it to be so that we're looking more to one side. I don't just want to be staring straight down the middle. So, like, this side might have, like, a very steep wall. This one might have, like, a... You know, a wall like this. Something like that. So, like, this would be the bridge. That looks terrible right now, but that's okay. I'm just planning out. This is me sketching. This is how I draw. Okay. Also, did I ever start the YouTube stream? Yeah, I did. Okay. It is recording on YouTube, so I have all the VODs there. Okay. Okay, let's think about values. I can always lighten things up later. I'm thinking I want things on the side, because I want to show, like, culture or whatever, right? I want to show, like, things on the side of this wall. Maybe, like, you know, little statues or, you know, pointy things that have, like, you know, sometimes walls have pointy things. A little fancy ornamentation. And then some of those things will have, like, shadows that come down. You know, the light will come from the back, so you'll have this, like... This will be in... I guess that's all shadow. So this will be in shadow, that'll be in shadow, these will be in shadow. Make them a little darker, so they stand out a bit more. Those will be in shadow. Maybe there's a thingy here, so like we can imply that there's another one over here, and we can frame the scene sort of like that, maybe. And there's a shadow here, maybe a slightly lighter shadow because it's sky facing, and then here we can have like lighter. There's a very... Also, I realized this brush is feeling, for whatever, I don't know why, maybe it's a brush setting that changed somehow. It's feeling soft, like fuzzier. Maybe it's always been. Did I change my screen canvas size, maybe? I don't know. But this looks awful right now, but that's okay. Let's add some reds, browns. This doesn't look like much of a bridge. You know what I could do, just for the sketchy phase? Add some little characters. How big do I... Maybe I want this thing to be massive. Do I want it to be like a massive bridge? So if we have our world map, like, maybe it's just some ginormous, long thing. Very, like... You know, just... So maybe we don't want this. Maybe we want, like... things to be smaller in scale. Getting some big shapes in the distance, like a city or something. These will be the thingies in the foreground. I feel like scale-wise, that's starting to kind of make sense. That could work. I don't need this to be perfect. I kind of just want to use this as like a first draft so that I can play around with, you know, like, what are these things? Are they little statues? And like, what is this place all about? So my thought is this is like the mainland. This is the place. Anything for those, I'm not going to go over like the lore of this world too much, but anything this way or this way is like, or basically anything away from this line is like more chaotic. Or you could think of like more normal to our way of life. So like our way of life might be like, you know, think of big urban city center type thing, you know, New York City, really any big city, just big city that's human, you know? Like it's gonna have all the things like, you know, import, export, trade, you know, sports, all the stuff, right? Just people and maybe multiple people and different types of races and stuff, like species of different things. All these different cultures and stuff just kind of coming together and being in here. But as you get outward, right, you get more like, because this is like the Nightlands, so things are only in the dark, and so you have like different creatures and stuff. And this is only the Daylands, and only it's always sunny. And so it's like hot, maybe there's deserts, maybe there's, you know, things that survive without ever having shade, that kind of stuff. So like different creatures and stuff can be designed. But this is like the normal spot. So that's kind of what I'm thinking is like, whatever this is sort of, I don't know, like this is like the entrance from the day side, from the light side. Or actually, hold on. Does that work? Because the sun should be coming from this side. Dang it. Hold on. So if the sun's coming from the side, because this is where the sun comes from, right? So this is where the sun comes from. So if it's coming from the side of the painting, that would actually imply we're painting something like this, right? Or this. Or this. You know, if this were like a river, right? It would be like, we'd be painting something like that. It's because it's coming from the side. Which is fine. That's totally okay. We can put like a river here, right? And then we can do like a path. But I do want to show this from like the side. I think from the side's neat. Although, I guess it doesn't really matter. Yeah, this will work. I'm not too picky about it. I feel like this is going to ramp up and... Yeah, this will work. I know I'll end up leaving all the hard stuff for myself later, because I'm going to just do the easier things. Like, instead of making this the sun face shining head on, which is cool. I do like that, but I think it's harder to paint. It's easier to paint things from, like, side view, kind of. Sun coming in at an angle. Because then you get, like, light and shadow. You can frame things nicely by showing light. It just feels like it's way easier. And obviously I'm not being precious with what marks I'm making, but I think this kind of works. Maybe, yeah, maybe there's some things here. Maybe there is. Also, is my stream doing the thing it was doing last stream? Let me see. I'm gonna play my own stream. Please don't be doing it. I can't tell. Let me turn up the quality of my own stream. No, it doesn't look like it. Looks like it's working. Good. It's working. Oh, yeah. Flamingo check. Did that not play? Why didn't that make a sound? I don't know. But anyway, thank you, Skittle. I'll sit up straight. Okay. What am I trying to do here? I don't know. I'm thinking arched area. I like arches. Arches are just fun to paint. They're also cool. I don't know. Big arched gateways. I think anything I associate with, like, big structures with monuments and fancy, like, statues and stuff. I think maybe the reason I'm so fascinated with it is because we don't have that where I live. Like, we don't have old structures made out of stone by people, like, skilled builders and stuff. Like, we have brick buildings and, like, wood houses. Like, cheap wood things that you could, like, push over, basically. Like, super thin-walled, flimsy wood houses and some brick. Some stone foundation type stuff, but, like, and some concrete. But we don't really have, like, even in our, like, public works in our city and stuff, like, outside of, like, our, what do you call it, like, city, not capitol building, what do you call it, like, city hall, or, like, the main place, right, where, like, yeah, like, city hall, or whatever you call it. Outside of that building, everything is just kind of sucky, and, like, it's kind of a smallish town, and so I kind of, like, long for, like, these awesome, you know, things that are designed and built and look nice and, you know, I mean, I guess everything is designed and built, but it's, you know, like big monuments and stuff. I don't really have that where I am. And so I always like to, I know they say paint what you know, but I'm kind of like, paint what I want, you know what I mean? Like what I desire kind of thing. Like, I want to paint the spots that we don't have. I don't just want to go outside and paint the stuff we do have. You know? I want to make stuff up and be like, oh, wouldn't this be cool? Anyway, let's add little people. Not like little people, but like just like people that are small in the painting, but full, you know, human, full size people. 6 foot adults, 5'6", whatever the average height is. Um, I'm imagining this place pretty big, right? Because again, I want it to feel. How are you doing, Joe? Are you okay? I am okay. Thank you for asking. Was that question out of concern? Like, are you okay? I am okay. Thank you for asking. Yeah, I'm doing quite well actually. Today's a good day. I'm feeling good about today's painting, and I uploaded something to Instagram that I haven't, I haven't uploaded stuff in forever. I keep forgetting. So I finally made an upload, which, maybe isn't that exciting for most people, but when I have a backlog of art from for a very long time. Also, these walls feel huge now. Hold up. That doesn't feel right. Unless these walls had like holes in them, like slots that you could sort of peek through. That just feels too small, right? On the other hand, we could change the scale, but then that's gonna feel too tiny. I kind of like the scale here of like these being people. Try to make them a little bigger, but yeah, like these could be people. Assad Goku on YouTube, how are you? First YouTube chatter of the day. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, no, I'm doing good. Doing well. Doing good is like what Superman does, right? Doing well. Life's good right now. Although after stream, I do have to like do some cleaning of my apartment and stuff. Not because it's like super dirty or anything or messy, but I'm having like I guess they call it like a lease renewal, but basically they're coming in and inspecting my apartment to make sure everything's in working order, and I hate that. Like I know it's just routine and it's not a big deal. They just go and like turn on faucets and hit my smoke alarm to make sure it's working, and just basic stuff, and it takes like 5 minutes, but it always stresses me out, like just knowing that, like not knowing exactly what they're doing. Like, are they gonna be like opening my fridge? And obviously they're probably not, but like I don't know. It's always, I don't like people like snooping, and I know they're not snooping, but like they don't give me an itemized list of exactly what they're doing. And so it feels like I'm gonna forget to do something. And like there's agreements in my lease of like if my smoke alarm isn't working when they check, or if it doesn't have batteries in it or something, like there's like a fine of like a lot of money, which is kind of, I guess it kind of sort of makes sense, but not really, because like I know right now my smoke alarm's working, but like what if it stopped working tonight, and then tomorrow I owe like $200 because it doesn't, like it just, I feel like that stuff, it just makes me nervous, like I'm gonna forget something or something's gonna go wrong, and I don't know, I just don't like it. Hi, have fun. Thanks, Jacker X. Hope you're doing well. So yeah, I always get nervous when there's like inspections of my apartment, which is, it's kind of silly because like there's nothing to be nervous about. Like I could just do literally nothing and it would be fine. Also, I want this wall to be, I want it to feel more massive. So let's do this. Let's bring this way down. Way down. Jack Rex, how's your day going? Or were you just popping in to tell me to have fun and then you're out? You're like, have fun, see ya. These are not people on the ledge. They are little statues. Or big statues. Nah. I mean, even if you were, that's fine. I was just kind of joking, but the way you were like, have fun. But yeah, I'm thinking this is gonna be like a bridge area. Maybe there's some other stuff back here. Is this what's back here though? Is this like a giant city? I don't know what I do back there. What do I put back here? Like I don't want to do like a water and horizon line. I mean, I could. I could do like water and skyline. Also, we can make this a little brighter. Just to push the values a bit. Just some spots that I know is going to be a little brighter. I am a little not sure what to do with the color and light, which is why I'm a little hesitant to push these values this way, but and then of course we'll get like the blues in the shadows, right? Anytime I make the sky more blue, I always feel compelled to make the shadows more blue. And of course, anytime I make the shadows more vivid, I also feel more compelled to like make the light less saturated, because then the focus is more in the shadows. Does that make sense? Like, I prefer to, when I paint shadow and light, I prefer to pick a side. So like pick the light side or pick the dark side. And whatever I'm focused in, the other side is either over or underexposed. So like, if I'm painting the shadow side and I'm focused in the shadow, right, that means I have to let light in, right, to see into the shadows so it's not black, right? So, and by letting a lot of light in, oftentimes the light stuff gets even more blown out, right? It might go like even whiter. So it might be like that instead of blue, right? Whereas if I'm focusing on the light, then the shadows can get quite dark, which also means things like the blue sky can get quite blue and quite vivid because it's not as like overwhelmingly bright and overexposed. So that tends to be how I do shadow and light. Is like I kind of just pick a side and say what do I, and I tend to pick the shadow side because light to me is more of like a way to direct the eye rather than put all the, I don't know. I guess that you can do it either way. There is no right or wrong way, I don't think. I'm sure there are times where one is better than the other for certain moods or something. Also, if this is the light, you can put lots of I'm just kind of making shapes. I don't. Oh, thank you for the five consecutive streams, the 5 streak. Nice. That's a lot. I appreciate it. Yeah, so is this, I mean, this is kind of like a, we put like mega structures back here. I'm trying to think, like, what do I want from this painting, you know? Do we put structures back here to make it feel even bigger? Go off the page. I mean, there's so many options. I mean, this definitely is starting to feel like a, I don't know, like some sort of bridge or road or street or something. Kinda. It's a little, maybe a little boring. But I think a lot of it can be figured out with shape. And so I just will need to decide on like what this place is, who lives there, what is the city all about. I kind of like the idea of broken. I don't know. That kind of makes it feel like it's older, but maybe that's like part of the design is to have these broken structures. I don't know. I've always liked that. It's like incomplete arches. City could be far away and the bridge could just continuing the mountain. Yeah, that's true. We could add more bridge back here. And maybe this is like the midpoint. And actually, that's not a bad idea. The only issue with that is that, like, I mean, that's not really an issue. I actually do like that in the sense that it adds more depth. Right? So we can get more, like, horizontal lines, which are great. For those who don't know, horizontal lines are amazing. If you create them at, like, different distances, it can really, really sell that idea of, like, a repeating pattern. Like, you know, like when you're passing the roads, the stripes, how they'll, like, further away they are, they'll get closer and closer. That you're basically emulating that, right? It's like, here's one stripe, right? Here's another stripe, and you're just showing the scale of, you're just showing perspective, except instead of showing it with lines this way, you're doing stripes this way that just get smaller. So literally a single brush stroke, and then another brush stroke, and another one, right? And as they get closer and closer, that just makes your brain be like, oh, okay, they're getting closer. Rather than doing lines that converge like this, right? I think when people first learn perspective, they're like, oh, I need to make sure I have lots of lines that converge. Well, that could work. And, a couple of them, like, your big main ones are probably important or whatever, but you can do a lot with just converging lines the other direction. Anyway. But yeah, I like that idea. The city could be far away. Yeah. Sup, still, man. How's it going? Sup with you. No, it's, I'm doing good. Everything is sup. No, everything's good with me. Just chilling. Let's see. Yeah, no, I didn't do much today. I woke up, did a teeny tiny bit of cleaning, ate some food, not necessarily in that order. I played some video games, played some Teamfight Tactics. But yeah, everything's good. I think also this, maybe we do more bright lights here. Oh, that's making this look huge again. I think if we're gonna have a wall here, we can put some characters here so that they can cast shadows on the wall. Right? So, like, strategically placing the characters against the wall so that we can cast the shadow. Otherwise, it's just gonna look, it's just gonna be one big shape, right? Where the floor, not the floor, the ground meets the wall. I mean, I could obviously sketch in some lines like this, but yeah, I think a little bit of, like, strategic character placement. Again, I'm not going to draw them in, like, fully as characters, but, just having some characters here that cast shadows up against the wall is super useful for showing the form of things, right? And I'm a big fan of that. So, like, there's I don't know what you call it, but it basically, instead of showing form just with, like, lines or perspective or whatever, you can also show it with, like, shadows being cast on it, right? So you're showing the shadow shape change. Same thing with, like, right, showing depth. Instead of just having, big object get smaller and smaller, but you're also doing, like, horizontal lines getting closer and closer, or you have literal things that converge, right? So you're kind of using all the tricks in the book. I'm a big fan of that. I think variety is, to me, just more interesting to paint. So I don't know what's going on with these little people that I'm drawing. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's, like... Ooh, I know, maybe there's little, like, a little areas they are sitting in. Hold up, this is an idea. Like tables and stuff. It's like little seating area, because this is like a pedestrian bridge, right? So maybe these seating areas, and maybe they're not specifically seating areas, they could be like little flower planter beds. So like maybe they have a little bit of green. I'm a big fan of greenery. I think it's boring when public spaces don't have greenery. Like, come on, man. Get some plants in there. What way was the light coming? Oh, this way. Yeah, so these are lit, very lit plants. Maybe there's some plants. I don't know. Okay, these could be plants. Greens are typically very dark. That's something that I just... It's hard for me to remember, but if you actually look at the value of, like, dark green plants, they really are not very bright. Any bright greens just aren't the color of foliage. Unless they're in, like, direct sunlight, then they can be, but... So yeah, something like this, little areas here. And I know rounded things can feel weird because oftentimes they aren't placed super well, but I think this will work. And then here, right, we got to get the shadows, so this is rounded. Little round here. This could be round. Again, I'm trying to do this crudely, like I'm not trying to be super precious. I'm trying to treat it as a sketch. I don't know if I'm succeeding, but... These could be characters in shadow. We can get some more characters in here. Maybe they're sitting on the benches. You know, like clustered around these seating areas, because that's what people do, right? And I will, if this is getting too small for me to actually draw, but like if we end up painting more on this image, I will res it up and I'll zoom in and we can show more there. Maybe there's like a tall person, you know, children, so big tall people and short people next to them, showing that they're may have kids, different shapes and sizes of people. Just lots of little... Maybe there's like people on horses and people, you know, riding around and doing things, so maybe that would be something that we could think about. Camels, which I don't know how to draw yet, but on the 22nd, so next, literally a week from today. Actually, by this time, I think we will be done with the stream, but on a week from today, I will be drawing camels with Casey Snow on her stream. Technically on my stream too, I'll be streaming. It's a dual stream, but I'll be streaming a little earlier than my normal time, because I'm going to be matching her stream time. And yeah, practicing camels. So I might, maybe I'll add camels to this painting. Little people on camels, because again, it's kind of like deserty. Well, I mean, not super deserty, but could be. Anyway, there's a scene, right? I think I made the scale okay. Here's some people in the foreground. This could be more light as well. I don't know. Again, I don't know what this is. Maybe there's a structure here. And this structure is casting that shadow. I don't really know if we need that structure here. Maybe just like a hint of it or something. I don't know if that's even good. So, no natural water resources like rivers in that world? Oh, there totally are. Yeah, no, this is the map. Well, minus the lines. Ignore the yellow lines. There's lots of natural water sources. Lots of rivers, lots of oceans. I'm just thinking of like drawing like a bridge But I don't know if this is going to be water out here. It might be, but it's not really the focus. There might be water here. It could also be inland, so maybe this is like an inland paved road of like for commerce and stuff, or like right outside a city center. I don't know exactly where this is. So it could be the case that this is like cutting through a dense forest or something. So maybe I do an iteration of it. So maybe I take this. KC Tanker says, "Hey, just thought I would stop by for a second to say hello and before my break ends. Have a great day. Really cool artwork. Thank you. Good luck with the rest of your day and enjoy your break." But yeah, so maybe there's like greenery here. I haven't quite figured out what I want to do with this. I do like the idea of greenery. So maybe this is like a paved road through the forest. You know, like, for example, here. Maybe we're making a road that cuts through here. And so it's just forest on the sides. Again, ignore the yellow lines. This is not a final or anything. So yeah, maybe it's here and there's like, you know, there's like a narrow passage, and then on the sides there's like city here, and then, you know, city here, maybe there's some forest around or something, and maybe it's like a big road that connects the two. Not really sure. But yeah, definitely is water. And natural water. I mean, we've also painted this painting, which has little ponds and stuff. Or I don't know what you mean by natural water. Do you mean like pure, like just water, or is it like, because this wouldn't be quote unquote natural? Like, it's natural in the sense that like it's just a pond or like little puddles. But is that what you mean by natural? Like no artificial additives? Is that what you mean? Because in that case, maybe there is that in the water, like pristine. Oh, by locality. Yeah, there's water in here. Probably. I mean, not in this. This is just a big paved area. I just want to do some infrastructure today. I wanted to paint cities and bridges. That's kind of what I'm feeling today. So this is just like a big open, like, plaza space. You know, think of like, maybe there's traffic that cuts through the middle here, which I should probably add some if we're going to go that route. But as far as water, I don't think this is the spot. You know, if you're in the middle of New York, would you be like, there doesn't seem to be any, you know, any natural rivers and walk? It's like, yeah, because you're in a city and you're not going to find, you know, you're not next to the river. But, I mean, obviously, if you know, there could very well be ponds and bodies of water, especially if you're like in Central Park or something. I don't know my New York geography. There probably are rivers. There are literally rivers, so ignore me because I don't know my geography. But, you know, there are certainly cities where, like, you can't infer that about a whole world, because a city, you know, especially like the most urban place. The shape of the arc, you drew it last time? No, I drew this time. How's it going, Druff? You mean this shape? I do draw these arches, very similar. I like the broken arches. I think they're fun. But no, I drew this today. The Hudson River. Yeah, ignore me. Ignore me because I'm bad at geography. But yes, you wouldn't see it in every photo of New York. And that's, yeah, there might be water on the sides here, but again, if we're raised up, it's going to be hard, even from this angle probably, to see much water. I mean, maybe there's little things here. When you made the river painting? Oh, probably. Oh, yeah. It did. It sure did. I like my arches, as I was saying earlier. Let me look for it. This. Well, okay, it didn't quite look like that. It was connected. Yeah, this one was connected, but it's very similar. Yeah, very similar painting. This one, though, I wanted to... Oh, you fixed it. Oh, was it... It might have been broken. I don't know if I want it broken or not. I I like it being broken because I feel like it does tell, you know, story kind of, but so does non-broken, right? It shows something. We could do that. I don't know. The broken is just cool, I feel like. I don't know. Am I wrong? Isn't it cool? Maybe I'm the only one who thinks the broken arches are neat. But anyway, yeah, maybe there's forest over here or you know, foliage, and maybe there's structure. I don't know. There could be all sorts of stuff. And then maybe we do an iteration of, like, there's more greenery. Yeah, just like, and it shows that it's in use, right? It doesn't, I don't know. I mean, I guess either way it doesn't. I guess to me, and maybe this is like a very like stereotype, like archetypal kind of thing, but I like to think, when I think of a city, I think of cities who are overly concerned with their public image to tend and like everything being pristine. I tend to think those are like miserable places for people to live. Where like, you know, like no graffiti and no not you know, nothing like I think of like you know, like curated places where like it's like a I'm trying like authoritarian governments who try to make all these, you know, big monuments and keep everything pristine and like look how awesome we are and we're great and you should respect us, instead of just like having happy people doing things. You know what I mean? I always feel like, and maybe that's not true of the world at large, so maybe I'm very much in a bubble for having that view, but like I I like a little bit of like, look, there's like, you know, yes, not everything is perfect, but not everything is completely rubble either. Like, you know, there are old historic buildings that don't need to look like they're brand new. Um, you know, things have been around. Not everything is like perfectly new and pristine, and it looks like it has life to it. There's something about that. I don't know how to describe it really, but I feel like a little bit of, especially in a you know, in a scene like this where there's very clearly going to be people, um, having old things like this that have been, you know, clearly at one point maybe was connected, but now it's not. But it's not like there's rubble on the ground, so it's been cleaned up, and it's like, this is just, you know, they don't see the need to fix it because it shows history, and that's fine, right? It's okay to show your, I don't know, like, I think that's a cool feature, and especially like big urban places with lots of people. Obviously, you don't want like, you know, bad structural integrity and bridges falling apart, but like, you know, there's a middle ground of showing, like, not everything has to be super perfect. You know what I mean? I don't. Somehow that adds character to a city to me. See, I think same thing with like small scale stuff like DIY, like DIY projects of like people, you know, duct taping things together and like you know, maybe not like in a completely like redneck engineering kind of way, but you know, a little bit of DIY making it work and sort of homemade like solutions to things. Like, not everything has to be stored, you know, oh, your car breaks down, let's buy a new one, or oh, it's always shiny. But like, you know, the old truck that has like the wooden rails on it to show like, you know, they had a problem they needed, which is to carry things, and their truck wasn't, you know, wasn't quite suited for that, so they built something to make it do the thing better, right? Or like, I don't know, there's something about not like an out of the box solution where it's like, this is the way it is versus like, this is a new way it is, right? Like, it's changed over time and we've built it up, or it's fallen apart, but we've worked around it and it works. Yeah, yeah, accepting imperfections and building and adding on. I mean, it could even be things like, you know, rebuilding something but out of a slightly different material, right? So it's like, it looks a little different. Stuff like that to me, because it's not, the focus is more on like I don't know. It's hard to describe because like obviously people who build giant monuments and giant structures like you care how it looks, but I think there's a difference. I don't know. I don't know quite. I'm not quite sure what I think actually, but I do know that when I look at cities around the world, they're oftentimes the types of images that you see of like certain cities are like I don't know, birds in distance. Ooh, I like that. Birds in distance would be nice. Some birds for scale. We even got a bird brush. Hold on, look at this. Bird brush. Obviously the birds aren't going to be this big, but I'm just showing you. Look at that bird brush. Yeah, we could do some birds in the distance. Showing how beautiful. Look at all the wildlife, right? There's greenery, there's birds flapping. It's birds doing bird stuff. Look at what a great, there's probably pigeon poop on the ground. What a great spot. I would rather have a place with birds and them pooping on the ground than no birds at all. I mean, maybe not like in the moment, but like when you think about it, I would rather have that. Like, it's one of those things where like it might make your life mildly inconvenient, but also at least there's life, Life is thriving. And that's kind of what I want this place to feel like. It's just sort of like a city that's thriving. It's people, they use the spaces. Well-lit spaces. Also, these are kind of large. Maybe I'll... I mean, I do want this to be kind of foresty, because, like... I'm thinking it'll be somewhere in here. And so I want to show that, like... it's like this... It might be this, right? When you have the arches here. So, like, here's an arch. Here's an arch. Right? Little arches here. People are wandering around down this. I mean, obviously, this not to scale, but, like, you'd have lots of arches. And this thing would be massive. But, something like this, where you have, like, these paths but there's, like, forest, sort of, forest and greenery. But then you'd have, like, the buildings and stuff elsewhere in here, somewhere. Structures, I don't know. Big city, somewhere. But yeah, Drev, I don't think I asked. How are you doing? Hope you're doing well. Hello, good day, you said earlier. I also think color can be a fun thing to add. Like, I'm a big fan of, I'm actually not a big fan of balloons, but things like, decorations and banners flying, showing, like, yard sale, or just, like, maybe somebody's having a birthday, so they put up a little, some balloons and things to show color. Maybe there's a banner flying of, like, posters for different things that people have going on. Maybe there's a banner here, that says, like, help out your local bookstores. And then there's another flyer and poster that might say, free pet care. I don't know. Just different things. There's like a place with lots of stuff happening, I've always liked that. Little things. Banners flying. Although you probably wouldn't be able to see this one, it's too far away. So let's add a bit of a white line here. Maybe somebody strung something up over here. Maybe it's like the, 200th anniversary of the destruction of this bridge. And so there's some sort of celebration thing, and they put the the stripes, you know, these things. What else? What else? To add little bits of color, you know, people in different colored shirts, and you know, showing that it's not like everybody's in business uniform, but no, people are out and about, right? They're wearing different colors. They're not all in the same costume, right? There's different walks of life. Everyone doesn't have to conform. I like that. I think it's a nice. It gives a nice vibe, you know. Like there's something very like not industrial. What's the word? Where like everybody looks the same, very formal. You know, the buildings are perfect. It's like everything feels too business and too perfect. I like the big mixing of the messiness that you get from, you know, like multicultural, like lots of different people all coming together. And I feel like in a place like this sort of world where you have like a sort of this main hub, right? This is going to be like the main area where all the people come from, and like the kind of the most livable area on the planet, essentially. Like that's what that should be, right? Like maybe over here, right, you have, you know, certain ways of life that are a little bit less sort of melty potty, whatever you want to call it. But like, you know, in different areas you can have that, and I think that's fine. Like I imagine, you know, in our little farming town that we decided this was going to be, right, that maybe, you know, they can all look like farmers. That's fine. Ron, how's it going? Cult of Ron. Welcome in, Ron. Siren Knight, hello. ND64, hello. Ronald P. Maxwell, hello. How was your stream? What were you up to? Shout out to Ron. If you guys don't know Ron, is a bit of an inspiration for this sort of project thingy, or this, like, just the way that I've been taking stream lately, which is, you know, still painting environments, still painting landscapes, but, you know, adding some portion of them into, like, a world map, which this is... Here, let me close this and reopen it. There, if I draw on it, should be... This is kind of where we're working today, but, yeah, so Ron's been an inspiration for this kind of thing, where as I paint environments, I add them to... Here, we'll close this one too. As I paint environments like this, I'll add them to the map. And we've added a few different locations, like a little farming village, or farming town. We've added a little mountain town. Today I'm painting something probably in here, sort of like either like a major area, like a major city, sort of this is like the entrance to that major city, sort of playing around with different ideas. But ooh, Siren says we have magical plants now. Nice. Magical plants are great, and one can revive the dead. I love that. That's the great thing about projects like what Ron's doing, where he has sort of a world, he's building it out, different types of, you know, cultures and places and locations, and you can do like a creature design. And if you want to do a creature design in a certain biome, you can do that, and they're going to look different. Maybe one day you want to do character design instead, and you have areas that you can design for. So like you never run out of things to do, and I don't know, that's sort of the part that I've taken the inspiration from, so that when I do my own stream, I have like a way to attach things to. But yeah, Ron has he's been doing this for so much longer, though. He has tons and tons of stuff, a huge archive of work. Also, this thing is massive. 90 feet. Name, Roiling Maelstrom. Biome, Boiling Ocean. Ooh, so it's kind of like a storm cloud, in a way. But it's not really a storm. So does it look like a storm cloud? Or is it a storm cloud? It's an apex predator. You have lots of little tendril-y thingies. It kind of looks like a storm cloud. I imagine on the horizon you would see, like, is that a storm rolling in? No, that's just the Roiling Maelstrom. But yeah, this is awesome. Very nicely done. You also work so fast. Like, I've been accused of working fast, but my goodness, I feel like you, unless you do a lot off stream that I don't see, but it is one angry elemental, part storm, part ocean, part earthen monstrosity. I like it. So do you, when you, okay, I gotta know, because I'm, when you do stuff like this and you say that, right, you say it's, you know, an angry elemental, part storm, part ocean, part earthen, do you write this stuff down, like, during stream or later, or are you just remembering? Like, I know for now, because it's probably fresh in your mind, but, like, other than this, do you have, like, more info on each of these? Or do you just kind of mostly let the art be what it is? You write it down? Okay. So you're doing lots of writing and record keeping and stuff. Fascinating. Because I've been unsure of, like, what to write down and what not to write down as I've, you know, come up with, like, the lore between these. Right now it's just kind of, I'm remembering it, but, like, I should probably write it down so that I know how things are connected, and so that I just, over time, don't have to, like, you know, it would make it easier, I think, to have a record of how, you know, different places and environments and creatures are all kind of tied together beyond just, you know, the visuals. Most of the time I save it in notes documents. Sometimes it slips through the cracks. Okay. Google Doc, write in Cliff Notes. Yeah. That makes sense. But yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, you guys should follow Ron if you like world building, history, just talking about stuff and things. And yeah. Very, very fascinating world building project he's been working on, though. He has, like, so much work being done. Literally, I don't know how long you've been doing it. Multiple years. Real Skycopper rated. Wait, Skycopper, long time no see. It's been a hot minute. Hello. Skycopper, how are you? It's been like a year. Has it been a year? I don't know. It feels like a year. 8 years this spring. Dang, so you've been working on your project. So Ron's been working on his world building project for 8 years, and streaming regularly. So, like, you guys can probably imagine how much art is built up over time and how much stuff is being worked on. So Ron has made so much progress and done so much work. Whereas, like, I've started like 2 weeks ago on my little tiny world thingy. And already it's like, I feel like I'm cruising. But I couldn't even imagine 8 years. It's a lot. That's awesome, though. Very inspiring. Black, Blue, Teal. Skycopper Raid. Welcome in, Raiders. How are you? What were you working on? Skycopper, if you'd like to share, and if it's safe for work, you can share. I know you like to do things that are very different than what we do here. We just do, like, environments. At least last time you raided, a lot of times I feel like every time Skycopper would share, it was very, it wasn't like, yes, maybe a little spicy, or like little, like, my stream is very family friendly, right? I gotta try to keep my stream very family friendly. I feel like Skycopper's stream is probably not. So it's not like it's, you know, like, objectively, like, inappropriate or anything. It's totally fine. It's just, you know, for this stream, it's always like a vibe shift, or like it shifts the mood. But anyway, it's great. It's been a while. You drew this. Ooh, yes, please share. I want to see. And you can drop the link regardless of whether or not I share it on stream. You can drop the link, and people can click it at their own risk, and I will click it, and then I will look at it, and I will judge whether or not I'm going to share it. I actually don't know. Maybe Skycopper has... I mean, it's been so long, you could be doing, you know, environments now, for all I know. Or spicy environments. Is it possible to make spicy environments? Of course. Absolutely. I mean, in fact, you know, just as kind of... I mean, it's partly humorous, but one of the struggles with environments is not make, especially if you're doing like, you know, tall structures and stuff, to not make shapes that look inappropriate, right? When you're just like making shapes and big buildings that tower in the sky, like, you know, with little spires on top, you gotta be careful. Like, it's very easy to make shapes that look inappropriate, whether intentionally or not. Gasp. Question mark? What do you mean, question mark? You can use your imagination. That's actually like a big topic in art, right? It's just like tangents, which is basically what that is. It's like a form of a tangent, right? Like an unintentional, awkward focal point. And so yeah, sometimes it's, you know, just innocent things like a face in the mountains, and other times it's stuff that looks like body parts. So yeah, let's take a look. Oh, magma. Okay. Oh, this is fine. This is fine to share. Here's what Skycopper was working on. Skycopper, is it just me, or has your art improved crazy amount since you last showed art? I feel like your art has improved crazy amounts. This is really good. Most famous case that involved the Little Mermaid's castle in the original Disney art? Yeah, exactly, right? Again, unintentional or not, I assume it was not. Just as somebody who has drawn lots of, you know, pointy castle spires, it's extremely easy to have something that looks like something that it's not supposed to be. Again, it doesn't have to be an inappropriate thing. It could just be, you know, something looks like a human and it's not supposed to be. Something looks like a face, or something looks like a, oh, is that a cat? Nope, that's just a funky shaped rock, you know. You were surprised too? Oh, well, you did great. I like it. Yeah, this is nice. Also, good color palette. I like the color palette. Very, like, muted, except a little punch of red, but you have, like, the grays and the peaches and the oranges. Yeah, the grays feel quite cool compared to the other skin colors and stuff. I like it. Very nice. Good job. Thank you so much for the raid, and bring your community over. Hope everyone's doing well. That big dog rat you made last time. Exactly, right? Like that kind of thing, where you draw one thing, but it looks like something else. That's just a very, very common thing. The most common is, right, you draw something and people can't tell what it is, right? But I guess worse than that is that it looks like something that it's not meant to be. And yeah, that happens a lot, especially if you paint like I do with big blobs, literally just making shapes. Like, you can have things that, you know, like, oh, this looks like a character. You know, look, it's like a person, their arms out, they're wearing a dress, like, I don't know, they're holding something, like, what is this? You know, are they doing like a Hadoken? You know, like, look, this little character, like, you can always find little shapes in the blobs, and obviously that's, you know, a bit of a stretch, but, you know, there's, you gotta be careful. You said this is the last time you can compare this. Wait, this is a before and after? Wait, so is this the original? Hold up. The before... Wait. Are these both from today? Did you draw this one today also? Or is this just another one that you're sharing? I actually don't know what I'm looking at. That's last year. Okay, yes, then that is a major improvement. I was holding off by saying how much of an improvement I think that is, but I think this one compared to this one is a major improvement. The left is, yeah, definitely improvement. That is a big improvement. I think a lot of it has to do with like softening the lines. So like on the shadows, for example, you have like softer parts. So obviously here, right, you've done the redness and stuff, But even that, like the cast shadows themselves are less harsh, right? So like um, all the like the color choices are less harsh. You have a better use of like warm and cool. Trying to think what else. Also, yeah, and also like here, like on the hair or the ears, right? You have like the light parts that sort of soften the transitions around the forms, whereas I feel like on this character, it's just like super dark against super light, super dark against super light, super dark against super light. You don't have like intermediate shapes that soften the forms, right? Like it's basically just like even the color of like the skirt versus the bikini top, right? It's like super like this is like a softer color and this is super jarring against like every I feel like you're the way that you do the shapes and stuff and put them against each other, it's just there's a lot of like softer transitions that aren't just super jarring. Even though you're still using hard shapes, right? You're using hard edges, but you have value transitions that aren't just I feel like that's maybe I'm wrong, but that's my when I look at that, that's what I notice. Because like the lines look more or less the same, kind of. Maybe I'm wrong there too, but yeah, it's crazy, crazy improvement. Like that is genuinely, I feel like, inspiring. And I don't know if you know, I admittedly I haven't. I don't think I've been to your streams. Have I? I might have popped in one of your streams once. I don't know. I'll follow you though, because I feel like I should have already been following. But I'm not an expert. It's weird to call yourself an expert. I don't think I'm an expert, but I I do well, that's just what I see in your art. Whether or not that's what you see in your art. I'm curious though, how much do you when you paint like are you mostly like cuz I always got the vibe that like you are painting a lot for fun, which hopefully everybody is. Um but like how much do you feel like you're doing like studies or practice or is it just like you're just drawing what you want to draw and you've just sort of inadvertently improved over time? Or do you feel like you've specifically tried to improve those things or the things that you have improved at, whatever they are? Because like obviously there's like a natural progression, right, that people are gonna experience when they just paint a long time. And so like if you're painting regularly for a year, you're gonna improve anyway, probably, hopefully, maybe not. But I'd like, you know, most of the time people do. Uh, I study anatomy and try to improve on that in that department. Okay, so there's definitely some study and stuff going on because I feel like it shows. I feel like that would be inspiring. Like if I were just starting out, seeing that kind of improvement is super inspiring. I see that as a big portal. Oh, this? Yeah, it kind of does look like a big portal. I don't really want it to look like that, but cool kick. How's it going? For me, I draw to make my friends happy. Fair enough. Yeah, that's always the vibe that I got. Honestly, that's how I've always felt about your art. It always feels like it's hanging out with friends, drawing, and having a good time. But also, like you know, I would be surprised if anybody drew on a regular basis and didn't like also try to get better to some degree. But obviously, there's probably exceptions. I think at a certain point you don't need to like you know even the art you shared today like there's a certain point where when you can draw the things you want to draw and they look great like you know. But background knowledge I'm trying to learn when you are streaming. I, you study anatomy and try to improve in that department. Oh sorry, I misread. That's what Jackarax said. I don't know why I read your message, Jackarax, and I pretended in my head that Skycopper said it. Well, if you ever have any questions about environments or anything specifically, feel free to ask because I'm not guaranteed to like, you know, say the things that you might want to know. Because a lot of time I'm just rambling, right? And I'm not talking about painting. You have the knowledge. Do I though? Do I? I don't know what that means. the knowledge. I mean, I have the knowledge. I have the knowledge that I have, however much or not much that is. Also, we don't have much light coming in from here. Let's add some light, making the green a little warmer, a little brighter. Okay, man, it's 3 a.m. for me, sleepy. All right, go get some sleep. Thanks for popping in. Thank you for bringing your community in. And if you guys don't already, but would like to, go follow Real Skycopper. Whenever I hear the phrase "the knowledge," I always think of like the London cabbie thing, because I think that's what they call their test, is the knowledge. Maybe I'm wrong. Isn't that what they call it? They have to like pass. They have to have the knowledge of the city, and like they have to pass these extremely intense like tests. I don't know if that's true anymore with like Uber. I don't know how that works. In fact, it probably doesn't work that way anymore, but maybe it does. That's what I was thinking of too. Isn't that what they call it? The knowledge? That's what I heard. I mean, I don't actually know, because I've never been to London, and so I've only know what I read, but, and so, you know, could be wrong. Yeah, that's what it's called? Okay. It's still a thing for the black tabs? Okay. So you can, like, know that you're getting a, you know, someone who knows what they're doing. But yeah, is there also, does like London have Ubers? Like, can you just take an Uber or a Lyft? Is Lyft still a thing? I feel like Uber is the only one in business. Let's get 2 small shapes back there. They've got Uber too? Okay. I feel like that must be... Was that, like, majorly disruptive to that industry? Because, like, didn't people pay, like, loads of money for, like... No, that was in New York, right? To get, like, a cabbie token or whatever? I don't actually know. I don't even know how I know anything about this. I don't know where I learned it from. As someone who has never been to New York or London, or really even taken a cab. I mean, I've taken cabs, but not really. Not many. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm kind of just making shapes. Kind of make interesting shapes in the distance. An interesting skyline. The nice thing about cities is that, like, for super distant stuff, you can pretty much just ignore perspective. I like this. I like these shapes. Maybe there's a few tall trees. Okay, let's do another scene. So maybe I'll just keep on doing this, and I'll keep on iterating. So what if we take the same scene, merge them together, and we change it. Maybe we change it by color. Actually, let's do this. Maybe we change it by color. Yeah, that's probably too bright. We could go something like this. For that. This makes it feel more like sunset, which is kind of interesting. Very strange colors. Don't know if I like any of that. Very red. This almost gets into like a night-looking scene, kinda. Somehow this feels like it's night. I guess it's because the blue light. It's funny how this works. Okay, this is really interesting. To me, this feels like a nighttime scene. Because I look at the light and I see this blue light, and I'm like, oh, that looks like a moonlight. But then I have this, like, this moment where I'm like, wait a second, how can this possibly be night? Look at the color of the sky, right? But, like, it can still kind of feel nightish. Obviously, we don't have to do that first. There's other ways to change color, but I'm just kind of painting. It's kind of interesting how that works. Like, why... I'm just trying to understand why this makes me feel like this. I mean, the answer is because of the light. Anyway, that's kind of interesting. Keep the orange. You think so? You want me to keep the orange? I don't think so. I don't think I'm going to keep it like this. I'm just trying to... I mean, I basically just inverted the colors. Ravens and crows are the best to make fantasy or middle-age environments. Their judgmental looks, especially when humans pass around. What if the orange is clouds? Yeah, it kind of looks like a fog. It looks smoggy. Definitely. Yeah, I think ravens and crows are fun. They definitely create a mood, right? Like I have that in my head. There's like that stereotypical scene of like people walking through a foggy forest and you hearing the crows squawk in the background, like looking down at them as they pass underneath a branch and the crows are sitting on top of it, right? Like there's that classic scene. I don't know. I feel like it's from a movie, but I'm sure it's from lots of movies. But like, you know, people walking through a forest. You know, there's a couple people. There's like a tree here, branches, and then a couple of crows squawking. Right? Here's the tree. It's totally how trees look. Here's a tree. And then, yeah, you have the crows on the branches squawking down below. And it's kind of foggy, right? You have, like, that fog. I feel like everybody's seen this scene, you know? Isn't this, like, a classic scene? Like that scene. I feel like in my head, when I think of crows, this is what I think of. They're sitting up here making noises as you walk ominously through the environment into the fog. And it's cold. There's leaves on the ground, right? You have all the leaf litter, you know, on the ground. It's autumn, right? You have autumny colors, so they're kind of orangey, right? You have the reds. Well, that's not very... The reds and the browns and the oranges. The crunch of the sounds beneath your feet. Anyway, I don't know why I'm drawing this. Let's delete it. But yeah, when I paint environments, I have a lot of scenes like this that are almost like base starting points. And it doesn't have to be compositionally the same, but like the sort of the value structure, sometimes the color palette, the theme, the mood, right? So like a lot of times when I'm thinking of like, you know, a scary scene or a happy scene, I'll have like my defaults that I can like lean on to. And so I can take a thing and I can tweak stuff about it and it can feel totally new, but I can still anchor it in like some sort of familiar concept. Kind of like we were talking about in that video that we watched the other day, yesterday, on YouTube. We watched the video in our Discord, which it was kind of weird, but it was okay. The guy rambled a bit, kind of like, I guess kind of like I do. I sort of saw myself in that video a little bit, but I like the points I think that he was trying to make. Or I might be assuming he was making points that he didn't make, but either way, I like the points that I thought he was trying to make. But yeah, the long one, the one with the guy, the teachery one, the one where the guy felt like he was trying to be a teacher, like not the one where the guy was more of a teacher and less of like an interesting, like it wasn't like made to be entertaining. Let's put it that way. I liked my own points that I made. Well, so we watched this video, and it started out with a guy trying to like explain a thing that he had learned or that he thought is really important to know in art. And he kind of went in like a rambly, roundabout way of getting there. So he started with some points that seemed kind of unconnected, and he kind of like meandered his way to the point he was actually trying to make. And so we were kind of like, how does this point connect to that point, connect to that point? And we were kind of like, how is this, like, what is happening here, right? Like, where is he going with this? And so we were kind of trying to guess, and like, there were things that like sort of kind of relate, like different concepts that I understand that I think are worth knowing that kind of is this path, but like maybe he didn't say it quite like I would say it, and so I'm not really sure if he was making the point I think he was. So I kind of had to give him the benefit of the doubt, but it was basically that like start in familiar, like instead of trying to I mean, I don't even remember anymore. But it was kind of funny watching the video, but I thought it was a good video. But yeah. I also think that sometimes when I watch art videos, if it's someone who comes off super duper professional, I am overly harsh in my critique, because I think there's like if the messenger gives the air of authority of like, I am super pro and like everything I do is perfect, I'm going to be more critical of what they say, because I don't know why. I just am. I think I'm more critical when people are like, especially if I don't know anything about them and they have like an air of authority. But when somebody is like kind of fumbling through what they're doing, I try to like read between the lines and give them the benefit of the doubt, because like they're not a professional speaker. They feel like they're sort of trying their best, and like I'm gonna give them all of the, not all of it, but I'll give them a bit more leeway in like how I interpret what they're saying, right? Whereas somebody is like stands up in a suit and tie, perfect camera, you know, speaks with authority and makes objectively false statements, I'm not gonna give them the benefit. I'm being like, oh, I think they don't know what they're doing. They clearly are acting like they know what they're doing, so I'm gonna treat it as if they're just being wrong, right? As opposed to like trying to, oh, maybe they messed their words up, you know. Maybe they, you know, like, I don't know. That's just something that I've noticed a lot in like YouTube videos, where I've almost taken like the opposite of what maybe you some people would hope you would do. Like, the better the presenter, the more scrutiny I'm gonna give them. Is that a normal thing to do, or am I just weird? Do you guys do anything like that? I have a couple art channels in mind that do that. I'm not going to call them out because that's rude, and honestly, I could be wrong about things, but it's like I mean, there's one in particular, and I really want to say the name, but I'm not going to. But he talks about a lot of like topics that are out of his area of expertise. So like a lot of mental health stuff, and it always, like, I don't doubt that, like, even when he says things like, this is not my area of expertise, he'll then proceed to make like objective claims, or that sound objective, like this is the way it is, and I'm like, but that's not always the way it is. I'm like, that feels like spreading misinformation, and again, I'm sure I do a little bit of that too, right? I think everyone does. But it's tricky. If somebody assumes the role of a professional, I'll judge them as such. Fair. Okay. I'm glad I'm not the only one who does that. And again, I'm, you know, I'm sure I've said things that make it sound like I'm super duper 100% confident, and then I say something that's just wrong. I'm sure I've done it as well. But so I'm kind of being ignorant of how I come off in that sense. Also, what am I painting here? I sort of like this, I kind of like what's happening here. The colors are interesting. It definitely feels more nighttime. But these colors are quite interesting. Also, it's funny that this underside here is less... It's less bright. I'm gonna add back some of that darkness, I think. But yeah, that's a good way of putting it, Treff. Maybe a light there. Yeah, maybe some light, for sure. Oh, that'd be fun. I mean, there may be a light there, but I would want to then show the light. I don't know if I want to show a light shining up. I mean, we could. We could have, like, an underlit thing. That'd be kind of fun. I've seen buildings and stuff like that, where they light the underside of a structure. It's actually not bad if it's, like, an important monument or something. Having some lights that shine upward. Maybe some bigger structures back here. I mean, I don't really know if this is something I'm going to end up keeping. But it is kind of neat. But now that we have this as like a moonlight, I need to make sure that the light feels like it's coming from above. Not from the side, because moonlight doesn't come from the side. Or at least not in the way that sunlight does, like a sunset. At least not to my knowledge. Is it possible the city has lights like electricity? Yeah, I think they have some sort of magic light. Maybe not electricity. I don't know. I'm thinking it is fantasy, but they have a lot of, like, magic ways of tech. So they can have, like, magic-propelled, maybe even some vehicles, some things that, like... I don't know. I mean, honestly, I'm not totally sure. I think there's probably some sort of magical energy that can certainly be used for lighting. But I'm not thinking, like, skyscrapers and electricity, but I don't want, like, modern-looking cities with, like, buildings with every window lit at night. I'm thinking more like candlelight, but magic candlelight that doesn't require fire and wax. But, like, you know, little lanterns. There's a book that I read called Name of the Wind, and in it they have these things called, well, one of their magics is called sympathy, which is not like being sympathetic, but it's I don't know why they call it that. I think it's not original to that either. I think this is like a way, like a magic system that's kind of already existed. But anyway, and they have these things called like sympathy lamps, and they're basically just little magical glowy lamps. They're lamps. They don't use fire. They use magic, this magical energy stuff, and they you sort of put your. It comes from you, so you like conjure this you inject this your magic into it, or some of your energy into it, and it then will glow. Or it'll do the thing that it was meant to do. In this case, it's glow because it's a lamp. So sometimes that magic could do something like, you know, propel a vehicle, or it could do other things, or, you know, propel a carriage, or it could move an object like telekinesis or whatever. But It's more that they're pushing it into the device and or like a lamp. So I kind of feel like it's maybe a little bit of that, where you have like some lights, you know, little lamps at night people carry around if they want. Magic infused, they could buy them or they could power them themselves. You know, kind of like that. Feels wintry. It does feel wintry. It's interesting how just a simple color palette change can make it feel like a winter scene. Like they made an ice rink. Oh, that'd be fun. Ooh, an ice rink. Hold up. That's a cool idea, actually. So if it is wintry, maybe we have winter trees. And because winter trees oftentimes don't have leaves on them. So like that. And then we can... just kind of sprinkle wintry colors throughout the branches here. Just kind of scribbling branches. Now, I don't know how winter plays into this. I like that, though. That's fun. Like a little ice rink. Maybe we do something like this, and we actually... I mean, that would be a fun... Yeah, that's neat. It definitely feels like icy. I'm actually going to bring some of this ice color down a bit and make it a little darker so that I can use these white lines across it. That way we can... Also, I'm trying to use these lines to, like, lead our eye into the page and use perspective. Kind of see where this person's coming from here. I like that. A little ice skating. That's a fun... I like that idea. That was a good idea. Little ice rink. Now, I don't know how this fits into our world because we haven't established any of, like, how winter and different seasons work. I almost feel like if this were a project that is going to, like, be a thing that I'm working on, like, very diligently, the winter stuff and seasons would come later a little. Like, I almost feel like they would be maybe not on this main map. Like, maybe this would be, like, springish area, but, like, winter might be further away in, like, the winterlands where it's always winter. This feels like... I mean, you could still have seasons, right? But this is, like... I don't know if I would want, like, the main image for a location. I mean, I guess I could do two, right? I could literally have two images. And this could just be this, you know, summer, winter. And so if I ever have, like, an online interactive thing, you know, I could just have both in there. Winter festivals. Because, again, cities are about the festivities, right? Like, the things they do in the city and what, you know, like, that. I feel like that's a lot of, when you look up, like, what a city is all about, a lot of it's like, what do they do? What are the people like? What kinds of things can you expect to see in the city? And, you know, if you were a tourist, what's it all about, you know? And I feel like that kind of thing, like ice skating, winter markets. Looks like an American Say New York Vibes wintry one. Yeah, maybe. Admittedly, I've never been to New York and I don't know much about it, but I guess I've seen it a lot on TV. Doesn't Central Park have a structure like that? I have no idea. Maybe? Also, I didn't want these buildings to look like a city like that. I think I would want these buildings, whatever I end up doing with them. Oh, and this one I have an arch, so maybe we need another arch over here. Whatever I do to one, I should probably do to the other. So maybe I should... I don't know what I should do. I like it, though. Little people ice skating. Obviously, this doesn't look like ice skating. Also, it's funny because these people are like in the exact same spot as these people. It was just like... But yeah. No, that's fun. I do like this. I do wonder if I like the trees and stuff, or if I like something like this more. Maybe it's just ice skating with a bridge in the background. That's a typical New York winter image, is it? That does feel like kind of a New York image. Oh no. KJ! Holy crap, we're getting a raid! That's a big raid. Welcome in, raiders! We are painting stuff. Welcome, welcome. KJM's hello. Loki, hello. Raiden, hi. Poyo Dio, how's it going? Pcat, yippee, hello. How's it going, Pcat? Welcome in, hope you're doing well. Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for bringing community over, Pcat. How are you? What were you working on today? And hi everybody, my name's Joe. I paint stuff. I've been painting a lot of random environments, mostly fantasy landscapes of various varieties. And then as I paint them, every once in a while, I will add them to like a world map thingy that I'm working on. And just kind of making it up as I go, and adding various locations, like this one is added there. And yeah, today we're just sketching something that will probably go here. I don't know what it is, but maybe like a bridge. Maybe a bridge or some outdoor area, like a big city. Maybe a winter version, they're doing some ice skating. Or a, you know, summer festivities, that kind of stuff. So we're just sort of making random environments and then plopping them on the map. That's sort of a little project we've been doing lately, and it's a lot of fun. Or at least I have fun doing it. But welcome in! What were you working on? Art tax. Share that art. Art tax. Also, thank you guys for all the follows. Very, very much appreciate it. But yeah, that's kind of me. I pretty much, yeah, just paint environments, make them up more or less as I go. You know, obviously I'll stop and grab references if I don't know how something looks or whatever. Like, you know, I'd obviously get like references for deer and animals, because speaking of animals, next Monday, so a week from today, I'm going to be doing a co-stream with Casey Snow and doing studies of camels, which I very much need to learn how to draw because I have like deserts and stuff in this spot and I don't know how to draw camels. So yeah. So I'm doing a co-stream in a week. But yeah. Teo Draws, hello. Hello everybody. Thank you so much for coming in with PCAT stream. No, wait, you said no tax. Wait, no art tax, it's work in progress? That's fine. What about like a link? What about a link to a, like an Instagram? Do you have an Instagram? Hold on, let me do the work and find your art so I can share it. Are you pcat.io? Is that you? I assume this is you. Pretty sure that's you. I'll post it. I can post a link. Oh, that's me. Okay. Okay, this is you. Great. Perfect. I'm kidding. I didn't mean to guilt trip you. Oh, fine. I'll do it myself. No, it's good. I gotcha. Anyway, your art's amazing. I'm sure everybody knows that because most people are coming in from here. Claude Sire. KJ, hello. Claude Sire. What does that mean? What's Claude Sire? Whomst is Clodsire? I don't know what that word means. Should I be repeating it? Look at this. Look at the art. It's so good. It's dangerous out there. Take this tiny Clodsire. Is that using it in a sentence? Joe dies not know. I don't know Pokemon. I don't know the new gen Pokemon. He's the goodest boy? Oh gosh, now I'm embarrassed. I should know Pokemon. Is it really Pokemon? Okay. I should have sound on. But look at the art. The art's so good. Also, am I following you? Okay. Don't look at my AD. Okay, boomer moment. What is AD? Art director? Don't look at my art director. What is it? I'm so lost. Sorry, I just got all confused. I'm flustered. Ad. Oh, don't look at. Oh, ad. Ad as an advertisement. I see. Oh, it's an ad for. I see. It's an ad for. You don't want the promo of Clip Studio. I actually like Clip Studio. I use Clip Studio. Not an ad though. Not sponsored. Oh, this is so cute. Look at this. This is so cute. What a oh, that is the Clodsire. That's Claude. Okay, that's the Claude. Gotcha. Okay, I got there. It only took me like 5 minutes to figure out what you guys were talking about. Okay, that is the. You know what? So my favorite Pokemon. I know I'm not up to date with all the new gen, and so Clodsire is definitely cute. It's one of the Pokemon that I know of in the new gens. Apparently, now I've just learned. But Oddish has always been my favorite Pokemon. Oddish is the greatest Pokemon, so still think, although this is pretty dang cute. No, I'm not gonna say Charizard. Oddish is adorable. What do you know, Charizard? Screw Charizard. Also, as far as like OG starters, it was all about the Bulbasaur. Just saying. Sorry, Charizard people. And also Pikachu, don't like him. Don't like Pikachu. I know people like Pikachu, but I've never cared for Pikachu. Okay, anyway. Now that I've just lost half the followers and maybe gained some, I don't know. For my dislike of Pikachu and Charizard. Cherim. See, I don't know Cherim. Cherim, I only know first gen. Okay, bedtime for me. This is looking awesome. Thank you. And thank you again for the raid. I very much appreciate you bringing everybody over. That is extremely nice. And yeah, have a good sleep. Thanks for popping in. Okay, so I just copy and pasted this. I'm gonna just iterate on it. I'm gonna make things up. I was thinking like big structures in the background. Maybe we get rid of this greenery because I'm still a little unsure of like what I want it to be. I was thinking like this is going to be our main area. We've got like cities and stuff. Maybe there's trade routes coming through here. Maybe it's forested, but there could also be like lakes and other things. I don't know. I'm just kind of going with the flow, making things up. But yeah, also, if anybody has any art they'd like to share, I'd love to see. I know I just taxed PCAT, but, if anybody else wants to share, you don't have to be a streamer or anything. I'd just like to see art. It's like a mental reset, kind of, to have other people share art. So I can steal all the ideas and also learn about Pokemon that I apparently am completely ignorant on. Okay, maybe there's, like, fancy gardens. I mean, I don't think this is a fancy place, but what if we did, like, little walls? Almost like a maze. So what if I put a lot of little lines over here, and then put sunlight on it? And then made this, like, a hedge maze, kind of. Does this feel too fancy? This feels too, like, England. Doesn't this feel England? is I've just painted England. I don't know why. I've never been to England. I don't know anything about England, but now this feels like England with all these fancy hedges and gardens, like royal gardens. Futuristic, maybe a little futuristic. I was thinking more England. Is England futuristic? Maybe some over here too. Well, implications of hedges or lower this stuff. Let's see. So watching you, I think. Wait. Siren said, Joe, I actually like to improve your environments, especially interiors. Wait, Joe, I'm actually looking to improve my environments, especially interiors, at least in thumbnail stage, and then how to detail them later. So watching you, I think, helps. Oh, that's nice of you to say. How to background? That is a good question. I think ultimately, like, perspective, I know that perspective sucks. I know people don't like it. I like it. I love perspective, but I think knowing a little bit of perspective and sort of shortcuts to, like, you know, making things, you know, big in the foreground, medium in the midground, smallest in the background, right? Stuff like that. You know, even some simple things as lines showing that sort of spacing that you often see of things getting, you know, closer and closer together as you go further and further away. That can do a lot for environments. You know, something as simple as like 3 trees, right? You could have very wonky looking trees, but 3 trees nonetheless. You know, if they're smaller and smaller, and then this one is going to be very big, like even that's going to kind of feel like an environment, right? So I think you can do a lot with a little, but just using some basic, you know, ratios of getting things smaller and smaller. Obviously, things like atmospheric perspective, you know, lighter in the background oftentimes, maybe a little bluer if you're on Earth and you have a blue atmosphere, you know. You can do a lot with a little for environments, and you don't need much. Just putting a few objects in a scene at different sizes, and you know, I'm a big fan of the ground plane. I think having some sort of ground, right, whether it's lines converging like this, like a road, or lines going, you know, narrow at the horizon line and sort of widening out. Just putting some objects in there, doesn't really matter what they are. Something on the ground, right? It could be a brick pattern, you know, it could be squares that get smaller as you go further back. They don't have to be like aligned or anything, just smaller and smaller in perspective, or kind of in perspective. Even something like that can make a scene feel alive. So that's kind of my advice, is like perspective, scale, overlap. Focus on adding depth, you know, with overlapping shapes, you know, scaling objects down smaller, atmospheric perspective. Those are kind of the main ones. Obviously, if you do things like hills, it gets easier because suddenly you have distances between, like, this area. Oh, hold on. Like, you have distance between, like, this area and this area, right? And so you don't really know how far that is. And so you can get away with a lot more when you're, you know, if you have like a character here and a character here and a character, like, I feel like you can get away with a lot when you have overlapping shapes. But anyway, that's like my starting kind of tips. Obviously it's not going to be as easy as I probably made it look, or maybe I made it look hard, I don't know. But it's probably not going to feel easy. But I think, you know, just some basic ground plane stuff with perspective, objects in the midground, foreground, background. You know, you don't need to draw like a complex car, right? Just like a literal stick figure, foreground, midground, background. Start getting people's feet on the ground, you know, adding some basic shadows, right? So if you draw a tiny little character, a little literal blob of color, just give them a shadow. Put their feet on the ground, right? Otherwise, they could be floating. If you put the shadow down here, now this character is floating, right? Put the shadow at their feet, now they're on the ground. And, like, stuff like that, there's little optical illusions and tricks to kind of make things look like they're grounded, or, you know, playing with scale, making a small character in the distance versus a big character in the foreground. Floating man. Yeah. And, like, a little information can go... I think that's just, not to sorry, I'm gonna go on a rant, on a ramble. That's one of my favorite things about art is like learning how this versus this can just do so much more in terms of like telling your brain what is happening, right? Or if you do something like that, or and have a random errant, stray brushstroke over here, suddenly you've made a floating character on accident. And like, I think that's so cool how just like a single line can change something, or a single mark. It's very like, so much of painting is optical illusions, and I love it. It's one of my favorite things. Teodraw says, I always found perspective interesting to do. Putting down the points and make it right feels good. Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of constructing stuff with like, put a line here, draw lines converging. But I do know enough, I think, to like fudge it a little bit. And if I really need to measure, I can do it and I can sort of construct it. But mostly I just like start drawing something. Like, it doesn't really matter what the perspective is. Like, I might start drawing an object at this angle. And then I'm like, okay, well, now this line needs to kind of converge somewhere, right? And okay, now if they're kind of converging over here, this one sort of kind of needs to converge on the same line. And so maybe something like that, right? And then from here, I didn't even know what perspective I was starting at initially, but now that I have it, I can start being like, okay, well, if this is the top of an object, they kind of also need to be over here, right? And so maybe these lines kind of come over here, and, these lines kind of come over here. But, like, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? I just vaguely, like, if we're looking up at an object, right, this is going to be the bottom of it, and these are vaguely, again, going kind of somewhere. But we could also rotate it, right? We could do a rotated object like this. The main thing is that we're looking at the top, and so these are going to kind of come down here, because they have to still be on that line, right, that we've established sort of invisibly. And so, I kind of make these angled, or, maybe I want to make them that angle, but they kind of sort of connect over here. And, like, there's an element of, is it perfect? Of course not. I'm super sloppy with this stuff. But I think learning the basics can go a long way. And obviously it's still hard. Like, you have to measure things at first. But I do think that's a super important skill. Even if you're not drawing lots of boxes. Even if you're just putting trees in. Speaking of which. London. Looks like London. Yay, box. Oh, yeah. Speaking of boxes, these are like boxwoods. These are... Isn't that the kind of tree that people make hedges out of? Little boxy boxwoods? Isn't that what they're called? I think that's what they call them. Are they called that? I think so. Let me Google. Boxwood hedge. Yeah. Images. That's what I see. Hopefully this doesn't make my stream flicker. If it does, I can reset it. But yeah, this is what you do, boxwood shrubs. It's the ones that people do like the topiary and stuff, and they cut them and they trim them to make them look fancy. My teacher once made us draw their house, and the roofing drove me crazy because it was pretty flat-ish. So you didn't see much of the roof, and it looked all types of wrong on paper. Ooh, that's another really like, I don't exactly know what you mean. Like, oh, like you can't see the roof because it's not, like, the angle that you're drawing is aligning with your eye. Is that what you mean? Like, if you were drawing a house from the side, and you were right here, and you'd be looking up at it, because your eye is horizontal to, like, your eye is looking across the ledge, so any roof that you can see is basically like a sliver, right? If the roof was like that, right, then you would just see a tiny... You're only seeing this amount, right, of roof, because there's, like... That's all you'd see. right? So from the side, all you would see is that, right? You would basically see no roof because you're looking straight up at it. Is that how that would work? I think so, yeah. It looked very weird. So yeah, it's like, that's just a bad angle, right? This is where you need to take a step back, right? You'd step back, get a better angle at it, or go around here and draw it from this side, or exaggerate the roof, right? This is where artistic license, if you're ever doing like a plein air or painting from a photo or something, where like if something looks confusing, just change it to make it less confusing, right? Like, you don't need to keep it looking bad, you know? That's something that I can ramble about. I feel very strongly about that. Like, change things. Make it look the way you want it to look. Especially if it's a bad photo. Like, you could have either taken a better photo for reference, or you can change it after the fact by using art. So yeah. Anyway, here's some hedge mazes. Very fancy. It does kind of have a futuristic vibe, though. But I like the idea of, like, maybe this is like a royal... Not a royal gardens. But just, like, I don't know, fancy public area. Maybe little areas in here. Thanks for the follow! Hope you're doing well. As always, if anybody has any art they'd like to share, feel free. It's a nice way to, like, I don't know, sort of meet people, I guess. Like, see what kinds of things people in the community do. I don't know. I'm always blown away by all the stuff that people do on Twitch. There's so many good artists, and I love it. I love just snooping at, like... I mean, okay, I don't actually go and snoop my viewers, but... I love just seeing all the art that people post and looking through stuff and seeing what people are getting up to when it comes to art. I love that stuff. It's great. So yeah, feel free to share, drop links to Instagrams and anywhere else. Also, I like this. I feel like we need some more color though. Maybe there's like banners. Maybe there's like a festival happening. In this park. Maybe there's like... Yeah, maybe there's like some banners hanging down. You know, people like to put little flags and stuff. I'm just a big fan of, like... I want this place to feel alive, right? Lots of things happening. People coming and going and doing stuff. You know, you have... Maybe there's little booths or something somebody has set up on the side here. They're trying to sell things. And again, I'm basically painting... This is very tiny, so, like, I don't want to get into too much detail. But just, like, you know, little blobs of, like, a stand. Also, it's 1 o'clock, so I can probably start blowing this up and rendering it. Yeah, let's go with this one. I think I like this one better. This feels more like a central city place. I like that. I think this one's nice. Okay, so I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to just expand it. Save as... Oh, hold up. Changing scene. Save as... Let's do a JPEG. Nope, not a JPEG. Let's... Hold on. What am I doing? What am I trying to do here? Save as a new file. That's what I want to do. A new clip file. Okay. Now, I can take this, I can stretch it and make it large, and I can just start painting on it. I don't know what I want to do for the mood. Like, do I want to change the time of day, the lighting? Probably not the lighting. The lighting, I think, is pretty set in stone. I like the sunny mood. But in terms of, like, the overall color palette, I could definitely still play with it, right? I could like, amp up the... You know, I could make it, you know, bluer. This would feel nighttime, so I don't think I want to make it nighttime. But there's tons of stuff I could do, right? I could do, like, a multiply, make it a little bit darker, maybe, and then maybe in the shadows, I make it darker and then I bring back that light or something. I don't know. Sometimes it's fun to just play around with stuff and see what sort of mood you can do, or what sort of mood you can make. I think the brighter scene made it feel more, well, bright and alive. So I actually like the brightness here. Maybe a little bit of that dark can poke through in like the corners here. So we still get that bright light on top, but just a teeny tiny bit of, yeah, I don't know, something like, is that even noticeable? Barely. That'll work. You're building environment pieces on ArtStation, and I'd be really glad if you take a quick look. It doesn't, if it doesn't interrupt your work. Oh, I'd love to take a look. Yeah, you can just drop a link in chat. If anybody wants to share, you can drop a link straight in chat. We also have a Discord, so you can drop it in Discord. There's an art share channel. But either works. I'm not going to bring it up on stream unless it's super good and I want to talk about it, but no, that's not true. I'm not going to bring it up on stream, but I will take a look. I guess I might bring stuff up on stream if there's something specific that, like, you know, if it's a topic we've been talking about or something, and I feel like it's a really good example of a very specific thing. Sometimes I'll bring stuff up on stream, but most of the time I try not to bring it up because I don't want to like feel like I'm obligated to bring stuff up. Ooh, these are nice. I like it. The snowy scene. I really like the giant planet in that snowy scene you posted. That's cool. These are nice. Very textury. I feel like the rendering has a lot of... I mean, you've just put a lot of detail in there. I like it. Or I guess I was looking at the clock tower one. That one has a very textury feel to it. These are cool. I like this. Thank you for sharing. LMAO. Oh no! What? What did I say, Fairmora? Hi, Fairmora. Hope you're doing well. What do you mean LMAO? What did I say? Did I say something stupid? I mean, okay, don't answer that. What stupid thing did I say? Thanks a lot. Yeah, no problem. Thank you for sharing. What did I say that was dumb, Fairmore? What are you laughing at? I don't... Tea reminder, thanks. My tea is almost empty, by the way. Also, there's lots of great artists in chat, and so if anybody shares their art and people want to follow them, you should follow them. And some people stream, like Skittle. Skittle streams. He's great. You should follow Skittle, too. He also does environments. Okay, so what am I going to do here? This is only at 2,000 pixels wide. I think... I kind of feel like I want to crop it. Okay, so I'm just gonna do this for a second. What if I just crop it like that? Is that better or worse? The reason I'm thinking about cropping is because I have a whole bunch of this foreground darkness that I don't really know what to do with. What if I cropped it like this? Nah, that's not as good. I think the cropping is good, actually. I just think I need more people over here. And I want to keep I don't want to make them super big either, right? I want to keep them, the whole thing needs to feel pretty, pretty small. One of the things I said earlier also is I want these people to have lots of different colors. Because I want this place to feel like it's a hub of, like a city central sort of important spot, right? Like lots of different peoples from all over sort of grouped together. There's trade, there's community, right? It's like a big melting pot kind of thing, multicultural city. And so I also don't want it to feel like it's, you know, like some weird, everybody has to wear the same stuff and everybody has to look the same. I very much want it to feel like there's a lot of different things happening. So I'm just going to use lots of different colors, you know, some greens, some Just really anything. Lots of stuff. Greens, yellows, reds, pinks, purples. I'm probably going to keep it, like, just for color harmony's sake, like, mostly in the warmish colors. Or, like, reddish, warmish colors. Because, like, I don't want too many greens, because we already have so much green. So I'll probably do, like, you know, maybe some blues, but mostly, like, reds, pinks, orange, that kind of thing. Or maybe if I do put in some blue, maybe I'll put some blue in, like, the foreground in the darker colors, so it's, like, it's not standing out too much. Or I'll do, like, darker blue here, where it's sort of... It doesn't... It's just gonna feel dark, not necessarily blue. Gagaramu says, I don't know English, so I'm just observing. I understand some words, but not all of them. No worries. Yeah, no problem, and thank you for being here. Cropping it more wider and expanding the image. That's true. We could expand it wider this way. Like maybe a little bit wider. That could be a thing. Let's do that. While we're painting. I mean, it's not gonna take much, right? Like, really, really simple. Some lines, horizontal lines here, stuff like that. This is gonna need... Okay, this kind of gets tough, because this is in the shade. Maybe there's like a... I don't actually know how this stuff connects, so maybe we'll just go like this. And then we can get some darker colors here to help sketch this out. And I'm okay with it pretty dark, like, or pretty rough. It doesn't need to be super crisp and detailed. I think that's another thing that I think people sometimes struggle with environments, is thinking about things as like, this is, you know, this is a tree, this is another tree, this is another tree, and so you end up drawing one tree, and you can spend a long time drawing one tree, and then you spend another time drawing another tree, instead of thinking of them as like blobs or just shapes, and in the tree part, you know, making them like a tree can be defined very simply, right? It can just be a blob. It doesn't have to have all the branches and all the leaves. Like, it can still be a tree, even if it's just the shape of a tree. And I think a lot of people want to paint every branch and every leaf. And, oh, there's a person here. You know, like, if you spent, you know, 5 hours doing a study of a person, well, what happens when you now have to paint 50 people? Do you have to spend 50 hours times 5? Like, 250 hours? Is that right? Yeah, 250 hours rendering people? Of course not, right? Like, you don't need to spend that much time on them. They can just be blobs. And I think it's hard for people sometimes to wrap their head around that if they're just getting into environments for the first time. Maybe there's some old structures over here. But I don't want it to look like ruins, right? I want it to look... Maybe it's a refurbished place. Maybe there is history in this place. So maybe in the... You know, back in the day, this world was... you know, not so nice, but now it's sort of... Like, so this world that I'm building out, one art piece at a time. So, like, there's, you know, I painted a dark forest, and then I added it... Then I added it to the map, right? Dark forest. Then I painted, you know, this thing, and I added it to the map. There. And so this world that we're kind of building up over time, I've sort of decided that I don't want it to be, like, super, like, terrible. Maybe not in a utopia, but, like, a nice place, right? Mostly a nice place. And I want to focus more on, like, how it all works together, rather than, oh, I have a problem, let's make there be conflict, right? Like, I actually want to solve the problem. And so it's kind of a fun problem-solving thing. But in doing that... Where was I going with this? I was going some... Oh, yeah, in doing that, I also want, like, I'm trying to think of the lore and how all this starts um, together. I just started like 2 weeks ago on this. Literally started just, well, I mean, I've always drawn just, like a painting a stream. So I'll start a stream like today, start a painting, and then basically paint until I'm done working on it and call it good. But I only just recently got the idea of like adding little icons to a map and slowly building out a world. So right now I have like, what, 4 locations on it? I have this, I have that, I have this, which is not very well painted, and this. So right now I have 4 locations. Everything else is open to change and reconfiguring, and even just everything from the rivers and stuff can all be reworked. But basically, as I paint an environment, I'll add them. And I'm thinking this one will go here, the one that I'm painting now. But I also am trying to, like, I'm not going to repeat it all, because people who've been here, it's probably going to be tired of hearing it. But basically, there's, we have some lore for this world. We've decided it's tidally locked, so this side's always sunlight, this side's always in, nighttime, and then this spot is kind of somewhere in between. Which kind of fits with like the long shadows here, so it kind of fits. Although honestly, this might be a little too daylight, so maybe we'll have to move the city like over here or something, or on this side maybe. Maybe it'll be off-centered, that way it feels more organic. We'll move it over here to the day side. But maybe, and I was saying, I kind of want this planet to be, like, not super, like, always in conflict. A lot of times when fantasy worlds are, they're basically, the world is just, like, a bunch of, like, oh, this kingdom is evil, and this kingdom is fighting them, and, bunch of wars, and, like, the good guys, the bad guys, very black, and, like, I don't want that. I want it to be, like, pretty much everybody's chill. Like, maybe there can be stories and conflict that can happen within it, but, like, maybe there was a conflict, maybe at one time there was wars and sort of humanity united or whatever, and I don't know. Like, people, all the species are just like, they're chill. They're multicultural, species, just hanging out, doing trade, having their own little, own little world with their own politics and stuff, but not, maybe no crazy ongoing wars and stuff. But anyway, I guess the whole reason I brought that up is because I think it would be cool to have, like, ruins, and, like, maybe there was an old city here, but they've sort of refurbished it, and so there's some old ancient architecture and ruins, stuff like that. Just like the real world? Kinda. But I feel like a lot of times when fantasy people, when people do fantasy worlds, they basically focus on, like, the, here's the military, designing all the spaceships and the gunfighters and, all, like, the weapons, and they focus on basically the war, right? Like, a lot of times people focus on the war between, the good guys and the bad guys, or the conflict, and, like, I don't know, I don't really want to do that. I kind of want to focus more on, like, the trade and how they sort of interact, and I guess a little bit, like, there's that, I only watched the movie, but that, what's it called? Valerian and the Thousand Planets, or whatever it's called. Kind of like that, where you kind of have just, like, a bunch of, like, a big melting pot of all these species, and things kind of are working, and it's not really, like, technically that story does focus on conflict, obviously. Most stories have conflict, that's fine. If a story exists in this world, it would also have conflict, I'm sure. But it's not like, these epic, it's not like Lord of the Rings where, Sauron is gathering the troops and there's gonna be a clash, right? This big impending battle is gonna take place. It's not that. Even with characters, 90% of character designs are warriors, right? Yeah, exactly. That's kind of like, I mean, obviously that number is probably made up, but it's probably close, right? I don't need it just a bunch of wars. Like, I'm happy with, like, merchants and, you know, any of the conflicts that we can imagine happening, right? Like, so in this world, you know, with the day and the night cycles and stuff, like, maybe there are resources that only can exist in this area. So, and maybe there are creatures that can't go into the night. And so they have to, like, you know, and so instead of, like, coming up with a solution, like, I want to come up with the solution of, like, how do they solve these problems in, like, a nice-ish way, right? And then I can use those problems to, like, design stuff. You know, here's merchants, here's people, and the vehicles they use to venture into the Nightlands to do things. And, like, it doesn't have to be a war. It can, you know, their problems can be things like, how do you survive in these, you know, harsh environments, like in the middle of the desert, or, you know, in perpetual darkness, and, like, you know, that can be the solution. So maybe you have creatures and people who thrive in those environments, and that's the designs. It's not, here's a battle. I don't know. Like, I don't have anything against the battle stuff either. I just feel like for my art, it's more fun to do the other stuff. You know? Maybe. But also, you know, don't get me wrong. It's cool to see an awesome, like, battleship and stuff, or like, don't get me wrong, I love, like, D&D character designs. They're great. I have a D&D character, and I've painted them, apparently, according to my DM. I don't remember the art, and I'm not going to share it, even if I knew where it was, which I don't. I don't think it was very good, but I at one point have drawn my D&D character. And that is fun, right? It's obviously fun to draw your own characters and other people's characters. Speaking of which, didn't Art Fight start? Is anyone doing Art Fight or knows what it is? I don't know much about it. I've never done it, but I know people do it. I think it just started, or it is starting soon. Maybe it's like the sign-up period. You envy me. I'm just learning to draw, and watching others do it makes me envious. I'm just curious, do you sometimes hide Easter eggs and other things you're drawing? So, I've started to. Oh gosh, this is a good topic too. Man, I could ramble. So, as I paint, and this happens with streaming and pretty much any activity I do, my motivations and goals with the thing changes. So, like, initially with art, just the learning of it was awesome. Like, I loved learning art. Learning in new concepts and applying them and seeing some improvement was fantastic. You know, streaming I started as sort of a way to be accountable. And then it grew to something more, and now it's like hanging out with an awesome community, and that's what I want to, you know. Now it's like, if I don't get any good art done on stream, who cares? Like, I can do it off stream, right? So now I don't stream to be accountable to myself. And it's kind of the same as true with art and details and, like, what my focus is on in the image. So, like, I've always sort of loved, like, the concept art stuff, you know, coming up with ideas, designing them, you know, doing the early stages, not a lot of detail, right? There's basically no detail here. So in a painting like this, there's not going to be Easter eggs, right? I haven't gotten that level of, like, granularity. There might be Easter eggs with, like, storytelling. So maybe this place is, you know, loosely based on something that I don't state out, you know, outright. And so it in and of itself is like a nod to another thing. But very rarely even that, right? Most of the time, they're more or less like non-rendered pieces. They're basically sketches or glorified sketches. But with that said, I will say within the last, like, 2 years, I have definitely had, like, I don't know, maybe not a change of heart, but, like, so last year I did a puzzle illustration. Let me see if I can find it. And it had a completely different goal, right? The goal wasn't just as a concept piece. It was, where is it? I actually don't, I'm looking for it. I have so many folders. I don't know where it is. Here, let me go to my Instagram. Okay, sorry, I'm getting to the point. So I was doing a puzzle illustration last year, and because puzzles, you view them at a small scale, I was like, well, I need to make sure you can see what's on them at a small scale. And so obviously I had to do, so I had to add details. And that's where adding Easter eggs and adding little things that you discover the longer you look at it became really exciting, right? And so even in a painting like this, I definitely think about, like, what if you see characters, having interactions and doing things, like maybe there's a shady drug deal going on in the corner over here in the shadows, and it's like, you have to like zoom in to see it. I definitely like Easter eggs like that. I don't typically put that level of detail in my paintings. I tend to paint much more loose. But after doing that puzzle illustration, which I will still show you in a second, it did kind of make me enjoy painting specifically to like spend time with the image. So this is the image. And so, like, there are little details and, design things on, like, the tent here. If you zoom in, there's little designs and details that sort of tell some additional story. There's, stuff happening on, like, this tent thing that sort of, there's a little bit of Easter egg story stuff going on in here. It's not super, like, otherwise it's just, like, a pretty picture. There's not much going on. But I like that. I like that if you were to do a puzzle of it, there's little Easter eggs to find as you stare at tiny little pieces, And so it's kind of opened up like a different way of, because it's a puzzle, right, versus like an art that's going to stay on Instagram. It's just two different ways of interacting with it, and one I feel like really lends itself to getting in close, spending literal hours with the picture. Right? On Instagram, you're probably just scrolling. Like, I don't know, adding Easter eggs, if they take me a long time to render and add and do all that, like, unless I'm already rendering it, I'm not going to go out of my way to add Easter eggs typically. But no, I do like Easter eggs. Easter eggs are awesome. I always have an appreciation for other artists who do that. But most of my work is pretty loose. I mean, look how I draw my characters. It's a literal circle. We'll give them a head. We'll give them feet. There. Now they're a person. This person's just standing. Maybe they're shopping. Maybe there's an umbrella. I love some Easter eggs. Yeah, Easter eggs are fun. I think they're really cool. And I wouldn't want to go here, but I will because it's a topic that I think is relevant. AI has made me like Easter eggs more because sort of like, to me, the longer you look at AI art, the worse it gets. Well, Easter eggs and detail in art is the opposite, right? The longer you look at art that has a lot of time put into it, the better it gets, right? Sometimes you discover more things, and there's more story that comes out, not less, right? I feel like a lot of AI art is the opposite, where it looks good at first glance, and it kind of is nice looking, but the more you try to, like, understand what's happening and follow eye lines and who's looking at what and why are they doing this, it looks worse. It makes no sense. Stuff starts to fall apart. And you're like... And so I've sort of had, like, because of AI art, I've kind of had a new appreciation of, like, making it better the longer you look at it. Like, that's almost a goal of mine. I mean, it's not really a goal of mine now because I'm still doing very loose stuff. But, like, there's definitely a type of art where that is my preferred goal, right? Not every piece needs to do that, but, So I do have an appreciation for details in that way as well. So, it's been a change. It changes over time. What the painting's for. Is it an illustration? Is it concept art? Different things have different requirements and goals, and so I'm going to treat them a little differently. But, yeah. Right now I'm just making some shapes. I'm just cleaning up some shapes a little bit. Like, this is not going to be that, right? This probably isn't going to have many Easter eggs. But I could think of things like, okay, so what could people be doing? Maybe you have some kids skateboarding. I don't know. Do they skateboard in this world? Probably. So maybe there's a person skating and they're doing a grind, a sweet grind on this rail or on this ledge, and maybe you have their friends cheering them on. Maybe you have a kid who's fallen down and they're, crying. You could do things like that. Just thinking of little mini stories could be like a form of Easter eggs. the one person there in the middle, standing there looking menacingly. Of course, they have to have like the spiky anime hair and a sword. No, or a staff. They have a stick salesman. Love your backgrounds. Man doing a selfie. Yeah, we can have a person doing a. Oh, that's a fun idea. A selfie stick. I mean, that's Easter eggs, right? There, that person's doing a selfie with the background back there. You know, maybe there's some people sitting here having lunch. Oh, what's happening? Wait, what is this? What made that noise? Is that a sub? Oh, thank you for the Prime sub. That's very generous of you. I appreciate it. Thank you for the sub. Oh, speaking of Prime sub, I actually have. I normally I don't use Amazon Prime, but I do have when I need to subscribe to somebody. Thank you for reminding me to use my own Prime sub. But yeah, I love the idea of a selfie person. A person taking a selfie, or some people just chilling on the bench, you know, sitting here, having lunch. Oh, we're getting another raid. What the heck? What's happening today? So many raids. Oh my gosh, this is like our 4th raid. You guys are unbelievably nice. Thank you, Eon Twine. How's it going? Always good to steal money back from Jeff Bezos. Seriously. It all adds up. Eon Prime, how are you? Welcome in. The fox is here, the fox is here, the fox is here, the fox is here, the fox is here. Guys, I think the fox is here. I'm doing good. What a productive day. Or a productive day. For you? Or for me? Or for stream? Because it is a productive day. I think I'm making pretty good progress on this painting. But yeah, welcome in everybody. My name's Joe. I'm painting this thing. It is an environment. It is a city center area with stuff. With people doing things. Like a little park area. Where people sit and hang out. And loiter. Lots of loitering. For me, yeah. I will say, it is hard to paint and talk at the same time. I feel like it's not a skill that I've gotten good at. I'm okay at it, but I need improving. But yeah, art tax. Eon Twine, what were you doing? How was your stream? What does the fox say? Oh gosh, I remember that. By Yelvis, whatever their name is. That brings back memories. That was like all the rage for a while. Trying to add lots of little characters in here, with different color palettes. Some reds on them, some blues. Different colors. I want it to feel varied. And I'm basically just making blobs. Different people walking. Also, like, different postures. Not everybody has to be walking from one place, you know. Not everybody has to be walking up and down this area. Trying to put little clusters of people, right? Little parties of 2 or 3. Maybe there's a person sitting here. No, that's dangerous. You don't sit up, maybe here. They're sitting in the shade. Leg is up. Something like that. Have to go. Have a nice stream. Thank you so much for popping in. Teo Draws, I appreciate it. Eon Twine said I was finishing Dark Souls 1 and started the Surge. Oh, nice! Good job on finishing Dark Souls. You know what? I never really played Dark Souls. I played a little bit of Dark Souls 1, and I was terrible at it. But I think everybody's terrible at it when they start, because it's just a hard game, and that's kind of the point. But yeah, that's cool. Congrats. I'm not familiar with the Surge. What is the Surge? Let me Google that. The Surge game. What kind of game is it? It's an action role-playing game developed by Deck 13 Interactive, published by Focus Home Interactive. Okay, it doesn't tell me what do you, what, I don't know anything about it. Oh, dang, you have a chainsaw. A dude with a chainsaw is what I see on the cover. Dark Souls, but mech suits. Okay, gotcha. It's crazy how blobs turn into an art piece that's legible or whatever it's called. Yeah, it is crazy, isn't it? But you know what's even more crazy is that that's kind of how we see in real life. Like I always use the example of like you seeing your friend from across the street. Like you can still tell them it's your friend or, you know, partner or brother or sister or whoever, right? Somebody that you can recognize from across the street. You can recognize them not because you see the color of their eyes or because you see the shape of their nose or even their you know, uh, their dimples or their freckles. Like you don't see that. Like it's like the big silhouette. Maybe their general form. Maybe it's the way they walk. Maybe it's their, general style. Oh, they wear a lot of bright colors or they wear certain, the silhouette of their clothing, right? Like you don't recognize them by the details. You recognize them by their blob, basically. Like a skinny, lanky person versus a very, short person. Like it's very, like that's kind of like I feel like a lot of painting touches on like these little things about human perception that are not that obvious to people who don't do a lot of art. And it's to me, it still blows my mind, just like how much you can show with little blobs. And I think it's great. Ooh, what a pick today. Hi, hey Pavik, how's it going? Welcome in. Hope you're doing well. Lost one, Alex says, before I got my glasses, I recognized how they walked, even though they were just airbrushed color. Yeah, exactly, right? And it's like at some point, now that you have your glasses, there's probably a part of you that like, just because you can see the detail, you assume the detail is what you pay attention to. And maybe it is now, but like, that's still not the fundamental way that you can recognize someone, right? Like, and so to me, there's a lesson to be learned from that, I feel like. And yeah, a lot of the way that I paint, which, typically starting with blobs and I don't render it right away, right? I don't get into detail. A lot of it just relies on that, shapes, silhouettes, basic shadow and light. Occasionally, if something is confusing, I will use, literal lines to help show the form. If I want to show the three-dimensional shape of something, like for example here, right? Let's say this line's not here. I might use a line to show the corner where this turns the plane, right? I might draw a literal line there. Or maybe I won't draw the line, but maybe I'll draw a few lines like this and a few lines like this that help show, now I'm contouring the thing, right? And that's going to help show the form. So in both cases, I could have drawn a vertical line to show the corner, or I could have shown the details, but going around the contours, right, in perspective. Both of those are just super simple things to help clarify something because the silhouette didn't do a good enough job, right? And so mostly I use things like details to do that, right? I use details to sort of help show the form of an object so that your brain doesn't have to do quite as much work to figure it out, right? Same thing with, like, that's what like, shadows do, right? I mentioned this earlier, but, like, if you had a character like this, he could be floating, right? If you put the shadow down here, this dude's floating off the ground, right? But the second you put the shadow next to his feet, you know he's standing on the ground. A simple shadow can be the difference of, like, it's telling you what this person's doing, right? The shadow is telling you where they're standing. And I think that's super cool. Like, it's just a single shape or a single color or a single line, and it does a lot of heavy lifting. But yeah, anyway, let's see. You will be taking your leave. Thank you so much for bringing your community in. Work is calling me tomorrow. Have a great rest of your stream. I appreciate it. Thank you. I'll probably stream for another 40 minutes or so. And I'll probably play some games after. Human brain and its creativity doesn't know limits. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the human brain is fascinating. It takes so many, like, shortcuts, but not necessarily a bad way. I mean, it can be a bad way, right? Like, jumping to conclusions that are wrong, or seeing things that just aren't there, because random things line up. But it also means for art, it's fascinating because we can use those little tricks of the human brain, all those little shortcuts that they take. I mean, that's how three-dimensional art works, right? I mean, if we only saw stuff objectively, you would see this as a two-dimensional shape, right? You wouldn't see it as depth and distance and, you know, like the whole reason this looks like a three-dimensional image is because of those tricks, right? You know, thing small looks far away, thing big looks close, right? It's like, okay, we got it. This is close, that's far. Not because, you know, this could be like a fly in the foreground, right? But it looks, you know, because of where it's sitting, you know, I put a convenient shadow here. You know, you could have made like a fly in the foreground and a dark spot on the ground below it. Like this is on the ground, but like a paint spill that just happens to be looking like a shadow. And now it looks like this thing's sitting in the distance, but really, this is actually just floating here. It's flying in the foreground, and this is just happens to be the dark spot in the background, right? Like, that's just like that would be a terrible choice to make as an artist, but that's the kind of thing where in real life, if you saw that, right, you saw something sitting there and you saw the perfect shadow, it would be confusing. It would trick your brain into thinking you're seeing something you're not. And that kind of optical illusion is basically what artists rely on. I mean, every single thing is just trying to understand how that perception works. Oh, that's looking good. Thank you, Schmuckleberry. I appreciate it. But yeah, I think the human brain and how we perceive things is probably one of my favorite topics in art, or really just in general. But yeah, I'm just trying to add little like legs. One of the ways that I paint characters is basically to make a blob, and then I give them a little bit of leg room, and then I carve off their shoulders and give them a little bit of a head. So that's kind of how I make characters. It's very, very simple, but just enough to give them some feet and a head. That's pretty much it. And I will add some shadow and light to these things here eventually too. Little blob, some feet. Maybe what could these people be doing? Maybe we have like some people sitting up here. Nah, I don't know. Maybe they're leaning against the ground here. They're sitting up against the wall, taking a rest. I did res up my image, so a lot of these lines are very pixelated, so what I'm doing is I'm coming back in here, and I'm sort of adding some definition. In fact, some of this should probably be in light, right? Because the light is coming this way, I assume. No, wait, the light's coming the other way. What am I talking about? I got my lighting direction confused. Light would be coming this direction. Because, yeah. Okay. Now we could, like, render each of these things and spend a lot of time, but I'm just going to go super simple. Maybe a little bit of reddish color for the faces. Go in here and just plop in some reddish brown. Little characters walking. Maybe this character's holding the hand of the little kid. Maybe the kid has a balloon. Again, these are kind of Easter eggs. I'm not sure if this is the point in the painting where I should put Easter eggs in. Maybe there's lots of balloons. Maybe there's like a celebration going on. Ooh, you know what? I actually really like the idea of having a balloon in the brightness. So like having things cross the light to dark. Right? So if I put a character here in the shade, right? And they're holding a balloon. Oh, here, let's put them a little bit lower. That way they can have their arm raised up. And then they have the balloon going upward. Then we can put the balloon here, but still in light. Right, so we can catch the light here, but it's in like it's backlit by the shadow, right? Maybe we do another one. Maybe that's what this is doing. Is this gonna be super far up? Something like that. There. I think that works. I think that's one of my favorite things, I think. Or not favorite things, but that's something I really enjoy with like using like something is in front of the shadow, but it's in the light. Right? Like if you had a banner come across here, the banner could be in the light, but the shadow is still being cast here. And so you get these nice silhouettes of like light and dark. I've always enjoyed it when other artists do that. So I try to incorporate a little bit of that stuff into mine. And what else could be in here? Oh, I need some of these blue shadows, right? All these characters need shadows. We were already talking about that. Little shadows. Also, the shadows can help show how tall people are. So, like, maybe they're in a weird pose or something, and then you can show their height in a different way. I don't know if I want to do anything on the ground, like probably. Actually, I think I do. Here, yeah, I do. I want to put pavers, just some really simple detail to help show the perspective. So maybe stuff like this, where I'm basically drawing in perspective little cracks. Just super, super simple. How about Flying Griffin? Ooh, I like that. I mean, I don't know specifically that, but let's see. Using for traveling or horses. Yeah, so I think some donkeys or riding animals would be really fun. That's a good idea. Some camels. So on the 22nd, this doesn't look like a camel. I don't know what kind of animal this is. A hippo? Maybe they're riding hippos? I don't know how to draw hippos or any animal, to be honest. But yeah, some riding animals would be kind of fun. But yeah, on the 22nd, I'm going to do a co-stream with the Casey Snow, and we're going to do a study stream, and we're going to study camels. And I don't know how to draw camels. Really, anything with 4 legs, I have no idea how to draw. I mean, I can kind of sort of get by sometimes, but like, it's pretty rough. But that's part of why the study stream's gonna happen, so you get better and improve. Yeah, there's that. Maybe there's some shapes. And again, all of this can, I don't have to finish this all today. I'm just kind of adding some simple shapes. Just doing like a rough first pass. Trying to keep things pretty loose. Maybe there's little arches under here. Little details. Again, I don't want to go crazy with the details, but if it's a detail I can put with a fairly big brush stroke, which is like almost, maybe not a contradiction, but like, if I can put the detail in with this size of brush, it's a detail I'm okay with having in, right? It could be refining the shapes of a tree. It could be, cleaning up edges. So no tech. I don't know. Maybe. Nothing crazy. I think it's pretty low tech. Maybe the city is no tech, because tech can be... I don't know. No, I don't want it to be like rules about no tech. Maybe there is tech, but people in this world don't feel like they need it. They're not glued to their screens. They're not addicted to their hoverboards. Maybe they just like going for strolls in this park and like walking around and doing outdoor things. Maybe that's just a society. Yeah, exactly. Tech corrupts the soul, and they know that, and so they use tech for some stuff. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm just honestly, I'm just starting with just drawing simple stuff. Also, I'm thinking these are being too spaced out. Yeah, there's going to be limited tech. I think there's like a little bit of a magic system in this world, uh, and they will use some of the magic as tech. But honestly, the problem with tech and me on stream is that I have to actually design it, and that's hard. It's hard and it takes time. But yeah, I'm thinking things like, tech-powered wagons and, maybe no horses needed. Maybe there's some wagons, a few, maybe some transport stuff, maybe automated bridges, it's just simple stuff. Kind of like steampunk, but instead of steam, you have, magic tech. And obviously they build stuff, so maybe they have like some sort of earth-bending magic and they can lift heavy stones with their tech. Let's see. What else? I did have a character here specifically so I can put a shadow on the wall, because this wall doesn't... Oh, I was doing the lines. That's what I was doing. Oops. I was doing some simple contours. Not contours, but like simple cracks in the... Now, I don't want to go too crazy, right? Especially at this scale. We shouldn't be able to see much, but I think it could just add a little bit to help show some of the... Not cracks. These aren't cracks. These are just things. Do you think one could mix Magitech with all the areas of industrial design? Probably, yeah. No, I'm sure you could. I mean, you'd have to figure it out, and there'd be things where, you'd have to figure out what the limits are, and, like, some things could probably be more or less the same, and other things where, like, we use more electronics, like sensors and stuff. You could have, like, so there's a cool... I mentioned it briefly, but in the book The Name of the Wind, they can, like, use their... They can basically, like, imbue stuff, kind of, and, like, if they have, like, a lantern that lights up, and that's what the tech does, it's basically like having a flashlight. And to turn it on, instead of, technically it could store its own magic, and then you could turn it on with, like, a switch, and it could light up, but you could also, like, push your energy into it, and instead of having a battery or having a candle, it would, like, light up the thing. So you could have tech that is designed to function a certain way, right? You could inscribe runes on it or whatever, and then when the magic is pushed into it, it will execute the command, right? So it's basically technology, right? It's basically, here is the command, here's the programming, and then you push magic into it and it executes the program, right? So maybe it's a little, a thing that, like a motor that'll propel something, maybe it's a light, maybe it can send a message from one point to another point, maybe at short distances or something. And so you can, inscribe a message and it can do, like, it's stuff like that, right? It's basically tech, and you can just, hand wave away the confusing parts. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like it works. And I kind of feel like that's a little bit how this will be. Is there's magic. It's, it's not for everything, but it's also for important stuff. We can say that they did it with magic. It's your world, your rules. That's true. But at the same time, I also want you know, as you come up, or as I come up with stuff, I do want there to be like, to have it make some sense to me so that, one, I can remember it. Because if it's too wild and wacky, I'm just not going to understand how it works. Um, but also just, I want it to make sense. But I sort of have this I don't know if you want to call it like a design philosophy, but it's basically each painting, I'm only going to add a little bit to the world. So like, you know, this painting might establish something about, you know, the night lands and how these plants are using these pools of energy to grow, right? And maybe the creatures have like patterns on them where they're sort of drinking from this energy infused water. Maybe in this you show something about the volatility nature of the energy if it's in, you know, uncontrolled areas, you know, like a desert or something. And then maybe in some areas you show, you know, other parts. Like I don't need to like, I can piece it together slowly. I don't want to go too wild, you know. If once I start adding like, oh, there's a dragon and it's shooting lasers out of its eyes, and these people are writing in metal dinosaurs, and like, okay, so do dragons exist? And like, there's so many things to suddenly solve because it's just too much. And so I like to take it very slowly, and I'll add it over time. I think over time my paintings will also get more ambitious for this, like if they're part of the same world, because once more of the world is established, I'll have tighter constraints of what I can and can't do. And so I'll have to be more specific. Like right now, this is like, oh, this is a city. Okay, great. Well, what's the city about? I don't know. Right? Like, what do they do? I don't know. I guess trade. So maybe there should be some stands. Oh yeah, I was gonna say that. There's some stands over here. Little fruit stands. Or little thingies. Little vendors. Not relying on really spectacular elements is also kind of better in my opinion. Yeah, and I think any like, oh, thank you. Oh, what just happened? I assume that was Skittle. Hydrate, thank you. Yeah, I think like the Star Wars way of doing. I mean, obviously this is not, you know, there's not going to be as much design as in Star Wars, right? But you know, Star Wars I think gets a lot of like props because of the way where they're just interacting in the world, and it's not like, hey, look, it's magic technology. They're just like, they hop in their little pod racers and zoom off. You know, they load up their goods into the back of their their vehicle and they drive off. Right? They don't explain it. They just show that it works. They show it's a vehicle. It kind of floats and like it just does its thing. You know, I feel like there's a lot of that kind of stuff where it's just you know, they're not really making a point of it. It's just like, oh, it's part of the world. And I think it's sort of, stuff's kind of understated. And I feel like that's kind of, if I have tech, that's kind of how I want it to be. Like, oh, here's a person on a thing, and they're carrying a weird backpack looking thing. And it does something, but I don't really know what it does, but I know that it's glowing, right? It has little glowing shapes on it. Okay, well, and all these people have glowing backpacks. Maybe they're carrying something in there. Maybe it keeps their food cold. It makes like a refrigerated backpack. I don't know. But like, I don't need to explain it. I can just put the cool stuff in there. Now, for me, I should know what it does, right? As the person painting it. Actually, I don't want those in there, but so I should know what the stuff does, but I don't need to like explain everything. Little stands. The stands have a bit of red on them because red is stands there. Maybe a cabbage stand, kind of Avatar, The Last Airbender. We got the little, like the Fire Nation. Isn't that kind of when they're walking down this area of the Fire Nation, the little stands and stuff? Cabbage dudes, cabbages fall off the bridge. Maybe there's a little cart here. I think that's another sort of inspiration in a way, is sort of Avatar: The Last Airbender vibes, where like it's very sort of fantasy, but you do have tech in the form of like different types of magic, right? The Fire Nation has tech. Um, technically, Earth Kingdom has, all of them have tech, right? They all have their own types of tech based on their own types of magic, and I feel like that's a good way to go about it. Okay, lots of little people. These things don't have to be detailed either. I'm just mostly implying things. I think a lot of my detailing um, ends up being like cleaning up the stuff that doesn't make sense. So like if there's a shape back here that doesn't make sense, it's more about just cleaning that up. I don't need to make everything super clear. Where's the light coming from again? This side? I should probably do more up here. And also, because this is light, we should probably put some light on the trees. Sort of Bob Ross style. Make sure you put the light on the side of the tree that the light's coming from. And do it as blobs, or however. Now, they don't have to be that kind of tree. They could just be any sort of tree. There, I like this. Very, very simple. We could even push some of the colors a bit more if we wanted. Pushing some of these to be like lime green. To really add some vibrancy. How about hot air balloon? I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe. Hot air balloon could be a thing. I mean, that would look good in this image, having some things in the sky. Like, don't get me wrong. That would look great. As far as a form of travel, I mean, I'm almost more partial to, like, flying animals. Because I think something that we've talked about a bit already is sort of, like, the, how animals get from one location to the other. You know, we have these, like, high-energy spots is what I'm calling them, that are, like, volatile. Or we have these, like wells, like, things in the ground where there's, like, a high concentration of energy. And maybe the animals will, like, drink them. That these animals will sort of absorb this energy and sort of pick it up. And then that maybe they migrate and they go somewhere else. So we've already talked about, like, what if there was a bird that, like, flies to this energy, does something, eats it or whatever, and then flies back, and then it sort of dissipates this magic and it sort of propagates it throughout the world. Maybe it pollinates and then flowers are infused with this magic. Who knows? And so maybe there's like different types of magic and animals. Some of them absorb it from the rivers. Maybe some of them, do something with it. And so there's sort of like an ecology there. And I feel like having animals be part of that could be cool. Like flying animals, mounts kind of thing. So yeah, maybe there's some sort of flying creatures. Don't know. This is the type of painting where honestly I should probably come back to it after I figure out more of what I want to do, because if there were flying creatures, maybe we add them up here. Maybe they're perched up here on the top, or maybe there's a special area where all the animals are landing, like the stables area. What about flying jellyfish propelled by hot air? Maybe, yeah. Admittedly, this feels a little generic now, but that's okay. More expanding, yeah. And that is also something that I want to do, is to come back to paintings and add to them and work on them. A lot of times you hear, especially people who are starting out, and myself included. I mean, I haven't had a good project to work on in quite a while. But a lot of times people kind of kick it down the road and say, like, oh, well, I want to do that comic when I get better, right? When I want my skills to level up so I can tell the story I really want to tell. I don't believe in that. I think you should do the thing. If you have an idea for a cool project, you should start it. And maybe, you know, if it really picks up, you'll do a second series or a third or a fourth. And pretty soon, you're going to be spending your time working on this thing. So, like, what's the difference of, like, working on it, going back and working on it versus starting it? Like, you know, if 5 years in the future, you're still working on the same thing, does it matter, like, what specifically it is? Like, you can always go back, right? You can always restart if you want. Like, you'll still be working on it. Like, either way, if you haven't, either you could start now and work on it or start in 5 years, but, like, in 5 years, you're still going to be spending your days working on this thing. So, like, might as well start now, because you'll pick up the skills and you'll build it and it'll become better. So, I don't know. I never really saw the point of, like, oh, I have a cool idea and I'll work on it later. And so I'm perfectly okay with coming back and, like, reworking. You know, if I have a painting that I think is terrible, you know, maybe this thing, you know, I add something in here and I don't like it, and I'm like, you know what, this is stupid. It's a bad design. I'm going to redesign it. So be it. Like, who cares? At least now I have something, and I can always go back and change it. You know, I can make it better. I can build on my old ideas. So, yeah, I'm perfectly okay with that. So, I do suspect that, especially for areas like this that are supposed to be, like, a hub, you know, I don't know what kind of creatures there are. Maybe there's, like ratkin, you know, people with little tails. I've always kind of liked that. I thought it's been fun. It also makes for really nice silhouettes. Little rat people. Maybe they live in the Nightlands. They're nocturnal. But they still come out. Ooh, and maybe they're wearing hoods. Maybe the ratkin are wearing the hoods because it's so bright. We've just added ratkin to it. It's now canonical. It's canon. We've added it to our world. It is real. It exists. Rat people exist in this world. Low impact choice that I just made. Yes, more expansion. Oh, of the canvas size. Oh, you want more expansion of the canvas size, like here? Ooh, and more stuff. That'd be pretty crazy. Rat people. Yeah, I like rat people. Rat people are neat. Also, like, I think I like them just as a species of fantasy people. Because, like, rats are supposed to be, like, very intelligent, and, like, and so you kind of extrapolate that to rat people, and also, like, I don't know. Like, I especially in this world where I have, like, a Nightlands and a Daylands, like, they're kind of, I think, aren't rats nocturnal? Or are they, or not? Hold on, are mice nocturnal? Actually don't know. That are most active at dawn and dusk. Okay, hiding in dark places during the day. Okay, so maybe they're not totally nocturnal. In cities, they tend to be because it's safer. Yeah, fair point. But yeah, anyway, so I'm thinking you could have creatures that are like mostly live in the Nightlands here, but still come to the Daylands to like do trading and stuff, and maybe they can be a bit of both, right? They don't have to be purely nocturnal. Maybe they just mostly live there, but they venture into the city, which is where we're gonna draw. That's where we're drawing this thing, sort of this area. We have like these paths here with the city, and we're kind of drawing this area right here. or here, one of these places. And yeah, so maybe you have these creatures that come in, they do their trading, and they leave. And you know, same with the humans. The humans will come in, they'll do their trading. Maybe not a lot of them live here, but it's more of like a day trip or something. Rat folk skating. Yeah, maybe. That'd be fun. Watch. Oh, that would be dangerous, wouldn't it? Yeah, ice skating for rat folk would be very dangerous. I imagine they would need like padding, so like the same way some people would wear like elbow pads or a helmet, right? They have like tail cushions, or they have to do something to like wrap up their tail to make sure they don't get it caught in the ice skates. Because yeah, that would be very dangerous for a rat. I mean, I guess in some ways we do, like when walking, like we do that with our feet, right? Like we're pretty good about not stepping on our toes or like other people's feet. And so maybe it wouldn't be a big deal. They'd have to watch out for other people, but other people would also know to watch out for the rats, right? Like, so if you lived with rat folk, the rat folk would learn how to avoid their tail being hit by you, and you would learn how to avoid stepping on their tails, right? Because like that would just be the thing that would be life. You'd have to learn how to do that, and you would learn pretty fast, I imagine. So I imagine ice skating wouldn't be much different. You would just not do certain things next to certain people because like that, again, same with like you're dancing or skateboarding. You don't just go over someone's toes because like you're aware of them, right? You're aware of their body and what, like, not to run into them. And so you would just be aware, right? Like, I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't be that big of an issue. Okay. I am winding down. My energy is getting pretty low. I'm getting a little tired. My brain is getting tired. So I think I should wind down and maybe we should find somebody to raid. But I do want to say thank you guys so much for all the raids today. The raids, the subs, the follows, the kind words, the good conversations. It means a lot. Jumps and spins can be worrisome? Yeah, probably. But yeah, this is a fun little painting. I'm not sure if I love the sky. The sky is pretty bare bones. We might even be able to add like a, you know, I'm normally not a huge fan of just an airbrush, but yeah, it's probably not good. I mean, it's not bad either. Do I like a little bit of that blue? Hmm. Do I like that? I think I do. Like, kind of, but not completely. So maybe I take this with a brush and I just add in some texture because I don't like the airbrush effect. It's, you know, the rest of the painting isn't airbrushed, so it's kind of weird. But I can probably come in here and sort of, you know, right around the edges. Typically brighter and bluer at the up at the top of the sky. Also, I know we had birds in here, which maybe we can put them back in. I kind of painted over them. There. And of course, some of these darker blues and stuff. Technically, this should also be brighter back here. Brighter bluer. Not necessarily because of atmospheric perspective, but more because of just like the shine, the Fresnel effect. Kind of shinier. Also, yeah, more light, more blue bouncing it into our eyes. I think that's probably not bad. Yeah, kind of a weird mood. It's very daylight. I don't know. I don't paint a lot of daylit scenes like this. But it's not bad. I think it gives a nice mood. Okay, let's go find somebody to raid. So yeah, again, thanks everybody for being here. I very much appreciate it. Have a good rest of your week, and I will be here on Thursday. Thursday will be my next stream. More painting, more environments, more rambling about